little boy in a baseball hat stands in the field with his ball and bat. Says, I am the greatest player of them all. Puts his bat little on boy,
whether you
tosses up his ball, and the ball goes up and the ball comes down. Swings his bat all the way around. The world's so still you can hear the sound. The baseball falls to the ground. Now the little boy doesn't say a word, picks up his ball, he is undeterred. Says, I am the greatest there has ever been. And he grits his teeth and he tries it again. And the ball goes up and the ball comes down. Swings his bat all the way around. The world's so still you can hear the sound. The baseball falls to the ground. He makes no excuses, he shows no fear. He just closes his eyes and listens to the cheers. Little boy, he adjusts his hat, picks up his ball, stares at his bat. Says, I am the greatest, the game is on the line, and he gives his all one last time.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural broadcast of the Inland Valley Baseball Network. So glad you could join us on inlandvalleybaseball.com, wherever you may be, for this first game of the season between the Inland Valley Buccaneers and the Inland Valley Pirates. These two teams, of course, will call Cal Poly Pomona their home. This is Scalinos Field, host of the Cal Poly Pomona Broncos, as we were just met by the head coach, Kevin Bowler, for the Inland Valley Buccaneers. Of course, this was a very successful program, the Inland Valley Pirates. Last season was their first season. They went 12-11-1, and of course 9-11 in SCCBL play. And they were so effective and so great in this Inland Empire area that there were enough players to field a second team. That second team, of course, will be the Inland Valley Buccaneers. As we just mentioned, Kevin Bowler is the manager for that team, and he actually just joined me for a second and was confirming that I was taking stats. And yes, I will be taking stats during both games of the doubleheader. Just so you know, this first game is starting in just a couple minutes at 1 o'clock. The second game will start 30 minutes after, and these two games will be non-conference matchups, even though both teams compete in the SCCBL. That's the Southern California Collegiate Baseball League. This will be a non-league game, kind of just a test, run-through, even though both games will count on the overall records. So with that said, we'll get you the starting lineups in just a few moments, as the Pirates are in their red shirts, white pants down the first base line. The Buccaneers are in white shirts, white pants. Their white shirts are cutoffs, so they have black undershirts underneath those. And the Pirates take the field for the first time here in 2014. As we said, so glad that you could join us wherever you may be. Dave Soberai on the play-by-play. Thrilled to bring you every single home game from the Pirates and Buccaneers this season. We'll also do select games on the road. A couple of the big conference matchups, including the OC Jacks, which is going to be a new team to the SCCBL this year. The OC Jacks and the Inland Valley Buccaneers are the two new teams in the league. The other four teams that are returning are the Pirates, the Power, Team San Diego, and the High Desert Heat. Of course, all of these teams are very competitive, and this is one of the best the Southern California Collegiate Baseball League is one of the best you'll see in Southern California, as taking his first warm-up pitches on the season is number 25, Ryan Romero, the right-handed hurler for the Inland Valley Pirates. Ryan Romero, 6'5", 190 pounds. Will be a senior at San Francisco State next season. We have a lot of Gators on this Pirate team, so you should enjoy seeing them all season long. And let's give you the defensive alignment for the Pirates in this first inning. In left field will be Matt Reynoso. In center field, Nathan Virgin. In right field, Bryce Cherry. At third base, Johnny Reynoso. At shortstop is Espinoza. At first base, Ortega. And at catcher is Kelly. And Blake James is at second base. Well, we are just about set for play. Opening pitch set to come from Ryan Romero against Mabusi Hayatasho. First pitch to the left-handed batter, misses, and it's 1-0. Ryan Romero, 6'5", 190 pounds. Fastball misses high and away, and it's 2-0. We talk about Christian Kelly. He's the guy behind home plate, and he does a very, very great job behind the dish, calling the pitches and being a perfect backstop out there, as this one is swung on and fouled out of play directly behind our heads and over the bleachers. So it's now 2-1. Well, Kevin Bowler, the head coach of the Bucs, said he doesn't know quite what to expect yet, as this pitch misses low and it's now 3-1, because he doesn't know the players that well. Obviously, this is the first time they've ever been assembled, so he's kind of going to get his feet wet here today and get everybody some playing time, as that will be a 5-pitch walk drawn by the leadoff hitter, Hayatwaso. Hayatwayo is on at first base, and that's exactly what you want to do if you're a leadoff hitter. You want to let the bench see all the pitches in Romero's repertoire, and you get on base, and that's the most important thing. Here comes Kevin Riley, the shortstop, batting second as we have a pickoff throw. Hayatwayo gets dirty, but is safe. Ryan Romero peering in at the catcher's signs and likes what he sees. Working out of the stretch, the runner goes, swing and a miss, throw down to second base in time. And that is something that we will get accustomed to seeing all summer long. Christian Kelly gunning out runners. That was part of the reason why he made the SCCBL All-Star team last season. Of course, this is where he plays his collegiate ball at Cal Poly Pomona. Here's a pitch, breaking ball swung on and fouled out of play down the first base line. So that'll be a 2-strike count here to Riley. Kevin Riley looks at one low and away for a ball. Good eye right there by the number 2 hitter. 6'1", 185-pounder. Right-hander. Will be a sophomore at Chaffey College next year. Takes a breaking ball low and away. And so another extended account right here for the Buccaneers, as Ryan Romero is working back out of the windup after that runner was gunned down at second base by Kelly. Swings at this one and lines it foul and out of play down the third base line. He was well ahead of that, but he jumped on it and hit it very, very hard. This past season at Chaffey College, a very successful season for Riley. 32 games played, 320 batting average as he chops this one to foul down the third base line. And he garnered first-team All-Foothill Conference honors. So a very, very impressive athlete right here for the Buccaneers. Ryan Romero deals, swung on, driven down the left field line, hooking and slicing foul. And that was foul by about 5 to 10 feet, one hop the fence. So you see that power that Riley has right there. And this is a major battle right here already between pitcher and hitter. Riley doing what most good two-hitters do, extending counts and protecting the plate well. Romero set. Here's the pitch. Fastball swung, and this one is fouled out of play down the right field line. So if you're Riley, you just want to straighten this one out. We mentioned his prowess as a freshman at Chaffey College, earning that first-team all-conference honors. He also did that at his high school at Los Osos in Rancho Cucamonga, where he was first-team all-league, 4 times the captain. As this fastball just misses low, that is a really good eye by the hitter. Very disciplined to let that one go on a 2-strike pitch. Leg kick, and here's the pitch. This one swung on line drive to left center field, and that will get over the head of Reynoso out there, and one hop to the wall. Rounding first base and headed into second with a stand-up double is Riley. So the Buccaneers have their first base hit of the day. Second man on base. Remember, Hyatt Wayo was the first hitter, the leadoff hitter, who walked and then was gunned out at second, caught stealing by Christian Kelly. Here comes Tanner Thibodeau, the designated hitter, batting third today for the Buccaneers. Tanner Thibodeau, 6'1", 170 pounds, left-handed hitter, as there'll be a little bit of a conference between the shortstop Espinoza and his pitcher Romero. Tanner Thibodeau, one of the few guys not from the Southern California area, goes to Kansas City Community College. His hometown is Omaha, Nebraska. Of course, Omaha, Nebraska, where the Division I World Series are. They are just underway in D1 playoff action. This one is a bouncer down the first base line, and it's just foul. Ortega, of course, the first baseman there. And speaking of Ortega, and speaking of playing well in collegiate baseball, his team just won the NAIA World Series yesterday. So congratulations to him and Lewis and Clark State. They did so on their home field out in Idaho. Working out of the stretch, Romero comes set, checks the runner at second, fires home, swung on and fouled behind home plate. So this will be an 0-2 count right here. The first time really Romero has jumped ahead of a hitter today. Kevin Riley remains on second base after that stand-up double to left center. Here's the pitch. Fastball swung on, and this is driven through the left side hole. Coach Bowler is waving him, and coming around is Kevin Riley to score the first run. It is 1-0 Buccaneers. For a second there, it looked like Coach Bowler was maybe having second guesses about holding Riley up, but Riley saw his third base coach initially waving him, and he decided to go and score. And so just like that, the Buccaneers are on the board, 1-0 here in the top of the first inning. So credit the RBI to Tanner Thibodeau, and he also advanced into second base on the throw, so that'll be a single, and he advances to second on the throw home. Here comes Bryce Brooks. Bryce Brooks, the third baseman, takes this one on the outside corner, called strike one. Well, among other things, Bryce Brooks is the nephew of former MLB player Mark Kotze, so baseball is running through his bloodlines. Here's the pitch. Swung on, and this one will foul out of play down the first base line. Adjacent to this baseball field on that first base line is the clubhouse here at Cal Poly Pomona, and then beyond that are some dorms. Very nice location here is Scolinos Field, as this fastball misses high and away for a ball. As we mentioned, Scolinos Field, the home of Cal Poly Pomona, 3 times the national champions back in 1976, 1980, and 1983. Here's the pitch, breaking ball swung on. This is straight at Espinoza, a slow roller. He fires over to first base and in time for the out. So 6-3 if you're scoring at home. Advancing to third on the play is Thibodeau. So now Thibodeau stands 90 feet away from making this a 2-0 game, as the Pirates finally record their first out here. Or second out, sorry. Of course, the first out was caught stealing, as this is a breaking ball in the dirt. Nice job by Kelly, the backstop, to get his body in front of that and almost act like a hockey goalie and make sure that thing didn't get by him, especially with the runner on third base. Jake Teagle is at bat, the first baseman. Takes a breaking ball in the outside corner, and it's called a strike, and it's 1-1. Teagle walking out of the batter's box. I'm not sure if he liked the call too much, but he gets right back in there. Right-handed pitcher, right-handed hitter. Another breaking ball framed on the outside corner by Kelly, and it's 1-2. Jake Teagle, 6'1", 180 pounds, plays at Chaffey College. Had a .300 batting average in 26 games played as a freshman. Fastball misses low, and it's 2-2. So this is the exact type of start you wanted if you're the manager, Kevin Bowler. First half inning of Inland Valley Buccaneer history, and you score 1 run and have another run just 90 feet away from potentially scoring as this breaking ball misses low in the dirt. And it's a full count. So payoff pitch to come to Jake Teagle. Working out of the stretch. Romero comes set. Fastball swung on and driven down the first baseline. Foul and out of play. Not too much wind to speak about today on a very hot day in Pomona. Of course, this is a very large field here in Cal Poly Pomona. Fastball misses low, so a walk drawn by Teagle, and he will head to first base with a free pass. And now there's runners on the corners with Jack Spawn coming to the dish. So a tough first inning here for Ryan Romero. A couple walks, couple of hits. As Jack Spawn comes to the plate, Jack Spawn from Point Loma Nazarene, where he'll be a junior next season, takes the fastball outside, and it's 1-0. This past season played in 24 games for Point Loma Nazarene. Last season played in 27 games, so this one swung on and fell straight back at the screen. Spawn is more or less an everyday player there at PLNU. Among other things, he was a Pac West All-Academic selection this past season. So he's great in the classroom. So many of these players are great in the classroom as well as on the field. As this breaking ball misses low and away, and it's 2-1. Runners still on the corners here for the Buccaneers as they lead 1-0 in the top of the first inning. Kevin Riley had a line drive double, one hopped the wall, and ended up scoring on a Tanner Thibodeau base hit. And Jack Spawn is plucked in the left shoulder, so he will head to first base after being hit by a pitch. And now the bases are juiced for the Buccaneers. So bases loaded for Richie Chavez, the left fielder. Chavez, 5'10", 165 pounds, left-handed bat against the right-handed pitcher. Fastball swung on and driven to left field, and running in on it is Reynoso, but it bounces in front of him. In comes one run. That's Thibodeau, and now rounding third and coming home to score is a second run as the Buccaneers take a 3-0 lead. So a 2 RBI, 2-out base hit by Richie Chavez. So Jake Teagle and Tanner Thibodeau, as I mentioned during the play, coming home to score. And there's still only 2 outs as this breaking ball misses high for ball 1, 1-0 to Rudy Cesares, the second baseman. So this is exactly what you wanted if you're a Bucs fan. First half inning, 3 runs scored. Fastball misses low and away. Snap throw down to first base. In time, they got him. Wow. So caught out at first base is Chavez, who just had the 2-run single, the big hit. But you can't really take a nap or be caught sleeping here against such a great arm like Christian Kelly's. At the end of 1/2 inning of play, the score, the Bucs 3 and the Pirates 0. You're listening on the Inland Valley Baseball Network.
He adjusts his hat, picks up his ball, stares at his bat, says, I am the greatest, the game is on the line, and he gives his all one last time. And the ball goes up like the moon so bright, swings his bat with all his might, and the world's as still can be. The baseball falls, and that's strike 3. Now it's supper time, and his mama calls. Little boy starts home with his bat and ball. Says, I am the great.
And welcome back to Cal Poly Pomona. So glad you could join us wherever you may be, whether you be listening maybe in the stands or at home, or maybe in the car if you're doing so. 3-0 the score. Bucs on top of the Pirates. So what a first half inning for the history of the Buccaneers as Jason De La Pena sets up for a couple innings of work here for the Buccaneers. It looked like, talking to Coach Bowler before the game, that he wanted to pretty much get all of its pitchers a couple innings of work and kind of just get their arms loose and see what they have, so to speak. As we mentioned, Jason De La Pena is a southpaw. De La Pena, 5'11", 175 pounds. Plays at Cal State San Bernardino, where he's a criminal justice major. Also went to Citrus College, where he was an honorable mention all-conference selection. So a very talented left-handed pitcher is on the mound right here. Coming up to bat is the leadoff hitter for the Pirates. We'll get you the starting lineups for each team very quickly, as Matt Reynoso in left field is leading off. Then it's Kyle Jackson, then A.J. David, who will be the extra hitter. Squaring around and bunting is Reynoso, and it's foul down the first base line. So he tried to show off a little bit of speed there. Kind of that D. Gordon type left-handed hitter who wants to bunt for a hit and get things off to a quick start. Batting fourth in the cleanup spot will be George Ortega. Fifth will be Johnny Reynoso. Sixth, Greg Espinoza. Seventh, Bryce Cherry. Eighth, Christian Kelly. Ninth, Blake James, as this pitch misses low and away, and it's 1-1 to Reynoso. And 10th is Nathan Virgin in center field. There'll be 10 hitters for the Pirates. They're using an extra hitter, which you're allowed to do in non-league games. If this was an SCCBL matchup, you would only be able to bat 9. This one swung on a high towering fly ball to straightaway left field, and camping underneath it and making the play is Chavez, who had that big 2-run single in the top of the first inning. So 1 up and 1 down here for De La Pena, as Kyle Jackson steps up to the plate for the first time this season for the Inland Valley Pirates. You remember Kyle Jackson last season in the SCCBL, one of 4 All-Stars from this Inland Valley Pirates squad, as this pitch misses low for ball 1. 1-0 the count. Last season he tied for the best batting average on this Pirates team with a .340 batting average. Also led the team with 12 runs and then had 5 RBIs as well. This one misses low and inside, and it's 2-0 to Jackson. Jackson, 6'1", 205-pound right-handed hitter from Chaffey College. As a freshman, he was first-team All-Foothill Conference selection. This will be a 2-hopper over to the shortstop, Riley. Riley makes the routine play to first base, and there's 2 down. So we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, De La Pena has some really good stuff, and so far, so good for him. 2 up, 2 down, as A.J. David steps up to the plate. A.J. David will be the official extra hitter today, as we mentioned, the Pirates batting 10 as opposed to 9. Speaking of Kyle Jackson tying for the team high with a .340 batting average, A.J. David is the other guy who tied with that batting average. This one misses low. It's a breaking ball, and it's 1-0. Of course, both of them have that in common, and they also have in common playing in the SCCBL All-Star game. A.J. David also took place in the Home Run Derby, as this one misses low and away. I believe David finished 4th. He had 4 home runs. Here's the pitch. This one swung on and fouled down the first baseline. Little nubber, left-handed hitter, left-handed pitcher. As A.J. David, of course, playing at San Bernardino Valley College the previous 2 seasons, where he garnered All-American honors in the junior collegiate level. That allowed him to get a scholarship to Cal Baptist. So that's just some of the talent that number 28 has as he looks at this one low in the dirt, and that will be a ball. He'll be joining the likes of Alec Morabito, who I saw him conversing with a lot before the game. Alec Morabito, of course, already on Cal Baptist, as this one swung on and fouled off his left shin, and it'll be a 2-strike pitch right here for David as he checks the ball. It was in between his 2 legs, and the umpire picks it up. So Jason De La Pena on a 2-2 pitch, working out of the windup, of course, with nobody on base. peering at his catcher's signs, and he likes what he sees. This one in there on the inside corner, called strike 3. So a very impressive first inning for the Buccaneers, both with the bats and with the arm. De La Pena shutting the Pirates side down in order. And at the end of one full inning of play, it remains 3-0. Bucs on top of the Pirates. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network.
Stream down my face with arms wide open under the sunlight. Welcome to this place. I'll show you everything with arms wide open. With arms wide open.
Welcome back to Scalino's Field for the first game of the season. We have a doubleheader today between the Buccaneers and Pirates. Both teams calling this their home for the 2014 SCCBL season. So glad you could join us wherever you may be. Dave Soberi on the play-by-play. Swung on and missed by Rudy Cesares. So it's 0-1 to him. Of course, most of the half-inning intermissions will be pretty quick here. No TV timeouts to worry about or any of that sort. Here's the pitch. 0-1 misses outside and low, and it's 1-1. Of course, Ryan Romero remains on the bump. Had a tough first inning. Gave up 3 runs, a couple walks. This one misses low, and it's 2-1. Gave up 3 base hits. Of course, Rudy Cesares was actually standing at the dish in the first inning. As this fastball swung on, it's a high towering fly ball in the infield. First baseman George Ortega calling for it and makes the grab. So that'll be the first out here in the top of the second inning. And Cesares, as we were mentioning before that swing, was actually at bat in the top half of the first inning, but Richie Chavez was thrown out at first base on a snap throw from Christian Kelly. Kelly actually threw out 2 of the 3 runners, or 2 of the 3 outs in that first inning, and we were talking about what a great defensive catcher he is, and he displayed it in that first inning. Fastball misses high and away for ball 1 to Miles Ryan, the number 9 hitter in this lineup for the Inland Valley Buccaneers. Buccaneers looking like they're going to be a very good offensive team so far, as this one misses high and in, and that's ball 2. Well, Ryan Romero at San Francisco State as a pitcher, had 13 appearances this past season, 51 innings pitched, so he had a lot of work for them. As Charlie Reynoso, the manager, now comes out to the bump to talk to Ryan Romero. In the middle of this at-bat to Miles Ryan. Miles Ryan will head back to his dugout as the catcher Christian Kelly also approaches in on the conference with Charlie Reynoso. Reynoso just kind of trying to settle Romero down. This is obviously his first start here in the summer season, and I'm sure they're going to need him throughout the season. So just settle down, and that's pretty much what Coach Reynoso is saying right there. As Miles Ryan comes back to the plate, 5'11", 170-pound right-handed hitter from Citrus College. You'll see a lot of players from Citrus College on this Buccaneer team. Lay kick in the pitch. Breaking ball in there on the outside. Just painting the outside corner. Lay kick, and here's the pitch from Romero. Fastball. This one also on the outside, and it's called a strike. So now a 2-strike count here for the number 9 hitter, Miles Ryan. He's going to have to protect the plate, obviously. Kelly once again setting up on the outside, and this one is just too far outside and a little bit low as well. Ryan Romero deals. Fastball foul tipped off the edge of the bat. And it gets a couple feet behind Kelly, and he'll pick it up now and hand it over to the umpire. Ryan Romero, another one of the very few players that actually do not hail from Southern California, his hometown, Nampa, Idaho. As this one swung on, line drive to left field, charging in on it is Reynoso, but it one hops in front of him. So another base hit for the Inland Valley Buccaneers, as they have now gone through the lineup here in the second inning. And so far, 4 base knocks through that first time through the lineup. And don't forget, as the leadoff hitter comes up now, Hayashwayo, that he was on base as well. He drew a 5-pitch walk to start the game off and was actually caught stealing at second base. Fastball misses low for ball 1, and it's 1-0 to number 12. Ryan Romero playing for Fullerton College, where he participated on a state runner-up team last year, as this one's called a strike, and it's 1-1. Of course, Fullerton College really played well to make it to that state championship series. And we've actually seen a bunch of guys as there's a pickoff throw over to first base, but not really trying to get Ryan, just kind of keeping him on his toes, making sure he's paying attention there. Here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled at the first base dugout, and the manager, Charlie Reynoso, will actually pick the ball up. But to finish that story, we see a lot of guys from Fullerton College in the SCCBL. Of course, there's a couple guys on the Long Beach Legends who have now left for the OCCL, as this is a pickoff throw over to first base. But both teams will actually see the Long Beach Legends later on this year. The Buccaneers and the Pirates will face the Legends twice each. This one is swung out, foul, tipped into the glove of Kelly. And that will be a strikeout. So that's the second out here in the second inning. The score remains 3-0. Buccaneers on top of the Pirates. Here comes Kevin Riley. Riley doubled and scored back in the first inning. A line drive rocket to left center that one-hopped the fence. Breaking ball called a strike on the outside corner, and it's 0-1. Riley ended up scoring on an RBI single by Tanner Thibodeau. Here's the pitch. This one misses low and away. A nice job of stopping it by Kelly, and it's 1-1. So far, so good for the Bucs. Meanwhile, the Pirates are hoping to get out of this inning without giving up a run and then kind of settle down on offense and start scoring some runs themselves. Romero comes set. This one's swung on, a high towering fly ball to shallow right field. Charging in and making the grab is Cherry for the final out of this inning. And at the end of 1.5 innings of play, the score remains 3-0 Buccaneers on top of the Pirates. You're listening to Inland Valley Baseball on the Inland Valley Baseball Network. And welcome back to the campus of Cal Poly Pomona for this matchup of the Buccaneers and Pirates. Game 1 of a doubleheader as George Ortega, the cleanup hitter, steps up to the dish for the first time here in the bottom of the second inning. De La Pena, fastball painting the outside corner for strike 1, and it's 0-1. Well, so far so good for De La Pena. as he retired the side in order in the first inning. George Ortega, the right-handed hitter from Lewis and Clark State, swings at this pitch. A little number right back at the pitcher, gets past him, and that will be an infield single for Ortega. So De La Pena kind of had to jump out of the way almost as it came straight at him. And I think it actually might have deflected off his pitching hand as he was shaking his left hand around a little bit. And that's why it kind of died after it went past him. And it died right in the middle of the infield grass. And Ortega has the first hit here of the season for the Pirates. So let's see if the Pirates can get something going here in the second inning as Johnny Reynoso steps up to the plate. Johnny Reynoso, the third baseman, left-handed hitter, against the left-handed pitcher. Fastball misses outside for ball one, and it's 1-0. Well, Reynoso played for Citrus College the past 2 years. This season, he was a first-team all-conference selection as he hit .310 for the Owls. He'll be headed to West Texas A&M as a junior next year. As De La Pena checks the runner at first, fires home, a bouncer to the third baseman. He fires over to second, and there will be a force out. Actually, no, it's not a force out. The second baseman, Cesares, was juggling it. And so, tough play right there if you're a Buck fan, as Reynoso will make it safely to first base. And now there's runners on first and second and no outs. That'll be recorded as a fielder's choice. And then an error on the second baseman, as that should have been a routine force out. Of course, Bryce Brooks is the third baseman and threw it over to second base. Bryce Brooks was one of two players on this Buccaneer team that played for the Pirates last season, so I guess you could say only two returning players for the Buccaneers, even though they're a brand new franchise here in the SCCBL. Here's Greg Espinosa, the shortstop, wearing number 4, squaring around, and this pitch is actually called a strike as Espinosa brought the bat back. Didn't like the pitch. Espinosa, one of two players who earned a scholarship to Houston Baptist. The other one is Andrew Alvarez. Both playing at Orange Coast College. Orange Coast College, of course, also enjoying a lot of success this season, as this fastball misses low in the dirt, and it's 1-1. Orange Coast College won the State Junior Collegiate Championship. So, three players who won, one player who won a national championship on this team, and two who won a state championship in the junior college level. De La Pena, lay kick, and here's the pitch. Bouncer over to the first baseman. Teagle looks over at second, but then steps on the bag. So Espinosa actually does a pretty good job of situational hitting right there, because he moves over both runners into scoring position, and now it's second and third, one out here in the second inning. Bryce Cherry steps up to the plate for the first time as a Pirate. Bryce Cherry, one of 4 San Francisco State Gators on this Pirate team. Of course, the starting pitcher, Romero, also from San Francisco State, as this one misses low and away for ball one. 1-0 the count to the 6'1", 205-pound left-handed bat. Bryce Cherry, this past season as a sophomore, played in 34 games, 225 batting average for San Francisco State. Here's the 1-0 offering, and this one is outside and low, and it's 2-0. So good pitch right here if you're a hitter with 2 runners in scoring position to maybe jump on a fastball, maybe chip away at that 3-0 deficit. Here's the pitch. Swung on and driven down the first base line, foul. So it'll be 2-1 now to Cherry. Cherry, before San Francisco State, went to Monterey Peninsula College, where he was a first-team all-conference selection as a sophomore. He hit .297 that season with 41 hits in just 34 games. So that's pretty impressive. Working out of the windup, here's the pitch from De La Pena. Yes, he did go, says the home plate umpire, and it's 2-2. on third base is George Ortega, who singled. And the runner on second base is Johnny Reynoso, who hit into a fielder's choice. And then there was the error at second base. Here's the pitch from De La Pena. The 2-2 is low and away, and it's now a full count. So a payoff pitch to come here in the bottom of the second inning as the Pirates trail 3-0 to the Buccaneers. As we mentioned, 2 runners in scoring position in the form of Ortega and Reynoso. Peering in at his catcher's sign is De La Pena, taking a long time now, checking the runner at third base, and finally firing home. This one misses low and away. It's a breaking ball, and now the bases are loaded. So a great at-bat right there by Bryce Cherry to extend the count and to show great plate discipline and draw the walk. And now you have the catcher, Christian Kelly, coming up to the dish with the bases loaded. Christian Kelly, as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, one of 4 Pirates to make the All-Star game last year in the SCCBL. Really does a great job behind the plate defensively, but also as a hitter. This one's called a strike, and it's 0-1. Last season in the SCCBL, he hit 296 with the Inland Valley Pirates. Of course, he initially committed to UC Santa Barbara at a high school, redshirted there for a year, and then transferred here to Cal Poly Pomona. This one swung on and bounced through the hole on the right side. In comes Ortega, and now rounding third and coming home to score is Reynoso, and it's 3-2 as the ball came home to the catcher. And now we have an error. The catcher throws it over the second baseman's head, and now coming home to score is Cherry. So 3 runs come to score, and it's all knotted up at 3 apiece here in the second inning. So credit Kelly with a 2 RBI single. And then there was the error on the catcher over to second base when Kelly saw and this is another reason why Kelly is such a good player. When Kelly saw that the relay was coming home, he decided to go to second base, and that made Ryan throw it out there into second base and over the head of second baseman Cesares, and that's how Cherry ended up coming home to score, as this one misses low and outside to Blake James. So just like that, on one swing of the bat, it goes from 3-0 to 3-3 here in the bottom of the second inning. De La Pena working out of the stretch, fires. This one is driven out of play down the left field line. James out ahead of that one. As we mentioned, the previous play, Christian Kelly picking up a 2-run single and then advancing the second on the throw. So he is in scoring position. The go-ahead run for the Pirates here in the second inning. De La Pena checks second. This one's a line drive in the left field. Running into third, and now rounding third is Kelly. Cut-off throw into Brooks. Brooks fires home. Not in time. And it's 4-3 Pirates. So Christian Kelly showing a little bit of everything here in the first couple innings. Threw out 2 runners on the base paths. Had the 2-run single. Then shows the wherewithal to see the throw come into the catcher and then force that error. And now scoring from second base, showing some speed on the base knockout to left field. So Blake James standing on second. 4-3 the score. Pirates on top as this one misses high and tight to the number 10 hitter, Nathan Virgin. Remember, the Pirates are sending 10 up to the plate today, as you can use an extra hitter in a non-conference game. Nathan Virgin, another returner for the Pirates. One of 16 returning players this season for the men in red. This one misses low. What was interesting, De La Pena, it was smooth sailing for him in the first inning. 3 up, 3 down, and now in this second inning, this is now the 7th batter of the second inning. Of course, there were a couple errors in the middle of a couple hits. as this fastball is in there for a called strike. Nathan Virgin, 6'0", 180 pounds. His brother Anthony also plays on the team. He's the younger brother. De La Pena checks the runner. The runner's going. That's James. Swung on and missed. It was a hit and run, and he is left out to die. Dead to rights out there at third base as the pitch was swung on and missed. And that'll be the second out of the inning. So Blake James is caught stealing, but he'll get some congrats from the bench on that 2 RBI knock earlier in this inning. Nathan Virgin committed to Lindsey Wilson in Kentucky. Swings at this one and fouls it out of play down the first base line. Good job of protecting right there. Virgin, before going to Lindsey Wilson, played at Citrus College. He was a second-team all-conference performer this past season. .350 batting average, .446 on-base percentage. So almost making it on base 1 out of every 2 times he stepped up to the plate. Very impressive. As this pitch misses low, and that will be called the ball. 4-3 the score. Pirates leading the Bucs. This one misses low and inside for ball 4, and Virgin will head to first base with the free pass. And so many times you say this, but the last hitter in the lineup is really an extension of a leadoff hitter, and so often you'll see, that last hitter just stretch the game out and get it to the leadoff hitter, and then you got some kind of rally going. Let's see if the Pirates can do that with a 2-out rally variety here in the second inning. They have already scored 4 runs in the inning as Matt Reynoso, the left fielder, steps up to the dish. Reynoso 0 for 1 on the day with a fly out to left field. This one misses high and inside for ball 1. 1-0 the count. Matt Reynoso, of course, the nephew of Charlie Reynoso, the manager. Johnny and Aaron, his cousins, are also on this team, so a family feel for the Reynosos. Speaking of that family feel, as this one misses low for ball, we just mentioned that Virgin, who's now standing on first, his brother, Anthony, is also on the team. And Greg Espinoza, his father, is one of the coaches as well. So major family feeling here for the Pirates. Lay kick, and here's the pitch. This one misses outside for a ball, as Charlie Reynoso will make his signals for his nephew. Matthew Reynoso is headed to Cal Poly Pomona as a junior, so he must be really excited to get to play on his future home field and kind of get some reps in this summer. That one is in there right at the knees, and I don't think he really liked that call, did Reynoso, as he kind of backed out of the batter's box. But as we mentioned, a lot of guys playing for Citrus College on both of these teams, and Reynoso is one of those people who did that. As De La Pena checks the runner at first. Very small lead, but fires over to first anyways. Just, I guess keeping Virgin on his toes, making sure that he's paying attention. This past season as a sophomore at Citrus College, put up pretty good numbers. 35 games, .248 batting average, .388 on-base percentage. As this one is swung on and fouled off the edge of the bat down the third base line towards the dugout of Kevin Bowler's Buccaneers team. First time I felt a little bit of a breeze today, but it's just a small breeze. Pretty dry day in general. De La Pena comes set. 4-3 the score. Pirates plating all 4 runs in the second. The Bucs plating all 3 in the first. As this one's called strike 3, and that will do it for the second inning. But the damage was done. The Pirates scored 4 runs in this inning, and they lead 4-3 at the end of 2 innings of play. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network. and welcome back to opening day here at Scalino's Field on the campus of Cal Poly Pomona. David Sobera on the play-by-play. So glad you could join us wherever you may be. We're headed to the top of the third inning. 4-3 the score. It's been an eventful first two innings for both the Buccaneers and Pirates, as the Buccaneers jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first inning, and the Pirates answered in the second with four of their own. Of course, in that first inning, it was Kevin Riley starting things off with a double. He wound up scoring on a Thibodeau RBI single. Tanner Thibodeau is up at the plate right now. As we just mentioned, that RBI knock, so he's 1 for 1 and also scored. So a very good first plate appearance for Thibodeau. Thibodeau checks his swing, and it was actually foul tipped, and it's now 0-1. There's a new pitcher in for the Inland Valley Pirates, and that is Jack Johnson, the left-handed hurler. So we have a left-handed pitcher against a left-handed hitter. Big breaking ball in there for a called strike, and it's 0-2. So working ahead of the batter is Jack Johnson. Johnson, a Division I athlete, plays for UC Riverside. Leg kick, and here's the pitch. Fastball misses high and away, and that's ball one. 1-2 the count. And that's what you like to see. Obviously, on an 0-2 pitch, for the most part, you don't want to throw a strike. You want to throw a purpose pitch, and you kind of want to make sure that the hitter tries to go after something that's not in the zone, as this fastball misses low, and it's 2-2. Jack Johnson, 6'0", 190 pounds. Here's the pitch. Oh, plunks the hitter Thibodeau right in the head. It was a breaking ball. So if you get hit in the head, obviously you prefer it to be a breaking ball over a fastball. And he heads down to first base, and he looks absolutely fine. So that's tough right there for your first batter of the summer. Jack Johnson, you get up 0-2, and then you end up throwing two balls and hitting him, and now he's on base. This one swung on and fouled straight back at the screen by Bryce Brooks, who's 0 for 1 on the day. Brooks grounded out to the shortstop in the first inning. As we mentioned, Bryce Brooks, one of two players who played for the Pirates last year on this Buccaneer team. This fastball misses outside, and it's 1-1. The other player is Micah Baer. He wears number 20 for the Bucs and is a pitcher. Went to Cal Baptist. Very slender lead off first base, and this one is driven right back up the middle, right from where it came from, and there's two men on base now for the Buccaneers. So Bryce Brooks with a single as Jake Teagle steps up to the plate. Jack Johnson is a strikeout type of pitcher. In 9 innings in UC Riverside, he had 8 strikeouts, almost 1 strikeout per inning. So far, no strikeouts here today in this first inning of work. Of course, no outs yet. As the first two hitters reached base, one was hit by a pitch. That was Tanner Thibodeau. And the other, Bryce Brooks, with that line drive right up the middle. As Jake Teagle steps up to the dish. Teagle, no official at bat yet, as he squares around, and this is a 58-footer in the dirt. Almost didn't even make it to the dirt. Almost bounced on the infield grass. And it's 1-0. Great job by Kelly to block the pitch to make sure that the two runners didn't advance in the scoring position. This is probably a sacrifice bunt situation right here for the Bucs. And once again squaring around, and once again bringing it back is Teagle on a fastball that missed way high, so it's 2-0. So fundamental baseball right here is what the Bucs are going to stress, because with no outs, if you can sacrifice both these men in the scoring position, you could bring in a couple runs, as this one is on the outside corner. Teagle squared around again and brought it back, but the home plate ump called it a strike, and it's 2-1. He still gets one more chance to lay one down, as Espinosa is holding the runner on at second for a short time and now goes back to his position. This one is a bunt, and it is bunted foul, and it's 2-2. What's tough, you see Jake Teagle in. He's a big guy as a number 5 hitter. You don't know how many times he's asked to lay bunts down. But that's just situational hitting right here. That's what the situation is calling for. With 2 runners on, no outs, and down by 1 run. Swings at the 2-2 pitch. 2-chopper over to Espinosa. 6-4-3 double play. What a great turn by Espinosa to James. And just like that, there are 2 down here in the third inning. Here comes Jack Spawn. Jack Spawn, another guy with no official at bat yet. He was hit by a pitch in the first inning, so he does have an 1,000 on-base percentage at this point in the season. This one is swung on and missed, and it's 0-1. Jack Johnson is a bioengineering major. Among other things, is the first in his family to go to college. So that's very impressive. As he comes set in the stretch, this one swung on and fouled down the first base line, but the first baseman on his horse makes the catch. And that was, I believe, A.J. David was now in at first base. Yes, he was. So A.J. David actually started as an extra hitter, and Ortega was the first baseman, but they've alternated now. And obviously we just noticed that as he made that catch out there. And that will do it for things in this third inning. So the end of 2.5 innings of play, the score remains 4-3, Pirates on top of the Bucs. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network. To the bottom of 3 we go. 4-3 the score. Pirates on top of the Buccaneers. So glad you could join us here at Cal Poly Pomona for the opening game of the season for both the Inland Valley Pirates and Inland Valley Buccaneers. Dave Sobera on the play-by-play as we have a new pitcher in for the Inland Valley Buccaneers. That is Art Salazar Jr. Very, very tall right-handed pitcher at 6'6", 220 pounds. He's headed to Cal State San Bernardinos. And there are a lot of players at Cal State San Bernardino on this Pirates and Buccaneers team. Went to Etiwanda High School in the Inland Empire. Also played for the Kansas City Royal Scout team in his senior year in high school. So the big right-handed hurler, leg kick, and here's his first pitch. Is a fastball in at the knees, called strike one to Kyle Jackson. Kyle Jackson 0 for 1 on the day, grounded out to shortstop in his first at-bat. As we mentioned before, Kyle Jackson, one of 4 All-Stars this past season in 2013 with the Pirates. This one is a breaking ball low and outside for ball 1, and it's 1-1. Kyle Jackson, hometown Claremont, went to Claremont High School. So many of these players from the Inland Empire, as this one is swung on and missed. Actually, it's foul tipped, and it's 1-2. In fact, a lot of these players have known each other for a long time, going back to their Chino Red days in Connie Mack baseball. Here's the pitch from Salazar. This one's swung on and driven to the third baseman. Making a leaping grab is Bryce Brooks, and that's the first out here in the inning. So a line out to the third baseman. Brooks getting about a foot off the ground, making a pretty good play out there. Here comes A.J. David. A.J. David 0 for 1 with a strikeout back in the first inning. A.J. David headed to Cal Baptist as he takes strike one, and it's 0-1 to David. David, a major in kinesiology. After his baseball career, he'd like to be a physical therapist or a trainer. Here's the pitch. Nice pitch on the outside. Looked like it had a honing device on it and barely paints the outside corner. So just like that, David falls behind 0-2. Not a place you want to be. Here's the pitch. Fastball high and in, and actually hits him on the right arm. And that was some major heat as David heads to first base. He's okay. He's going to shake it off a little bit. And his first base coach over there is kind of getting a laugh with him, so I assume he's okay, and he's patting him on the back and saying, good job, and way to get on base. Of course, it never feels good to get on base when you get hit by a pitch, but that is the first time he's on base for the season, A.J. David, in 2 plate appearances. Here comes George Ortega, swings and fouls this one straight back at the screen, and it's 0-1. Ortega started it all off in that second inning with a single and wound up scoring in that 4-run second inning for the Bucs. If you remember, he hit it straight back to the pitcher, deflected it off Jason De La Peña's throwing hand, which is his left hand, and died in the middle of the infield. As this pitch misses inside, it's a fastball, and it's 1-1. George Ortega from Lewis and Clark State, an NAIA World Series champion, just won the tournament a couple days ago. As Salazar steps off the mound, Salazar, the large 6'6" righty, working out of the stretch for the first time, checking A.J. David over at first and now firing home. Another nice breaking ball in there for a strike on the inside corner. And Ortega was kind of gritting his teeth after he saw that pitch. I'm not sure if it was because he was hoping it would be called a ball or if it was because he was just thinking, wow, that's a pretty good-looking pitch. 2-strike count here for Ortega. Has to protect the plate. Fastball misses high and in as it gets by the pitcher. That'll be the catcher. That'll be a wild pitch as David will head into scoring position. And that one was pretty much directly over the head of Ortega. So Salazar showing that he has some good stuff, but also showing that he can be a little bit wild here in his first inning of work of the summer. Hit one batter in the head and threw another pitch over the head of Ortega. Ortega, major in criminal justice. This past season, a .325 batting average at Lewis and Clark State. 27 hits in 26 games, so more than 1 hit a game. Very impressive stats for number 20 on the Pirates. Bounces this one to the right side, and making the grab is the first baseman, Teagle, who will step on first base for the unassisted putout. Advancing 90 feet into third base is A.J. David, as there are now 2 outs here in the bottom of the third inning. 4-3 to score. Pirates on top of the Bucs. Here comes Johnny Reynoso. Johnny Reynoso reached on a fielder's choice back in the second inning. If you remember, that was the play where Bryce Brooks threw it in the second base. As here comes the first pitch. Fastball misses outside, and it's 1-0. And he threw it to Casares, and Casares lost it, kind of trying to transition the ball into his throwing hand, and the umpire actually called the runner at second safe. Here's the pitch. Fastball misses outside for a ball. So Johnny Reynoso with the run scored in his first plate appearance. Reynoso 5'11", 185-pound, left-handed bat against the right-handed hurler. Lay kick, and here's the pitch. Fastball misses high for a ball. Last season in the SCCBL, Johnny Reynoso had a team-high 10 RBIs and 9 runs. Very clutch performer for this Pirate team. Fastball misses way high for ball 4, and Reynoso will hustle his way down to first base with a free pass. So runners on the corners now for Greg Espinosa, another returning player for these Pirates, as Kevin Bowler will head out to the mound for the first time today. Joining him is Miles Ryan, the catcher, for a little conference between he, the catcher, and Art Salazar Jr. the pitcher who just came in this inning. Of course, we mentioned Salazar Jr., one of a number of Cal State San Bernardino players on this team. Also the leadoff hitter, Hyatt Suayo on the Bucs is from Cal State San Bernardino. Another player who I haven't seen today, Taylor Valentine, is also from Cal State San Bernardino. He plays on the Pirates, and he was the pitcher of the year back in 2013 with these Inland Valley Pirates. And pretty much any time he took the mound, you knew it was going to be a Pirate victory last season. He had a 0.66 ERA, had 37 strikeouts in 40 innings pitched. So just great control, great heat, great breaking stuff. He was very impressive last season. Here's the first pitch, a fastball swung on and fouled behind the backstop by Espinosa. Of course, if you'll remember, Espinosa's brother was actually on the team last season. That was Grady. Grady, of course, played at San Francisco State. Meanwhile, Greg will head to Houston Baptist this fall. This one swung on and driven through the left side, and that'll be a base hit. And in comes A.J. David to score, and it's 5-3 Pirates. So an RBI single for Greg Espinosa. Will be playing D1 baseball, as I mentioned, at Houston Baptist in the Southland Conference. As Bryce Cherry Jr. steps up to the plate, the left-handed hitter. Bryce Cherry reached on a walk and ended up scoring back in the second inning. 6'1", 205. Takes a breaking pitch on the outside for strike one, 0-1 the count. Bryce Cherry's hometown is Atascadero. Went to Atascadero High. Salazar checks the runner at second base, comes home. This one's a little nubber foul and into the on-deck circle where Christian Kelly awaits. Christian Kelly with his leg gear still on, of course, the catcher. Two runners on, two outs. Bottom of the third inning. This breaking pitch misses outside, and it's now a two-ball pitch here for Cherry as the Pirates have scored one run in this inning to extend their lead to 5-3. So offensive fireworks so far in the first three innings here from Cal Poly Pomona. Another off-speed pitch outside. A good job by Miles Ryan to stop that pitch. So he kind of had to almost dive for it and really extend out there. Also, good plate discipline shown by Cherry, who has a two-pitch count right here. And this one is inside, and it's now a full count. Payoff pitch to come. Two men on base here for the Pirates in a 5-3 ball game. Of course, A.J. David was hit by a pitch, advanced to second on a wild pitch. Then there was the walk for Reynoso and the RBI single from Espinosa that scored David. The runners go on the 3-2 pitch. This one swung on, driven into center field, and it gets down. In comes one run, that's Reynoso, and being held up at third is Espinosa. And it's now 6-3 on the RBI single by Cherry. That's one of those situations, obviously, where it's a full count and two outs that you can start the runners and get a little bit of an advantage for the hit. And so advancing from first to third was Espinosa, and scoring from second easily was Johnny Reynoso. So just like that, the Pirates fall behind 3-0 in the first inning and now lead 6-3 over the Buccaneers. Here's the pitch. It's in there for a strike, and it's 0-1 to Christian Kelly. Christian Kelly with the 2 RBI single back in the second inning. If you remember, 3 runs actually scored on that play, as 1 scored on an error. Kelly alertly ran to second base, as here comes the pitch from Salazar, swung on and missed. High fastball. And so Kelly saw the cutoff throw coming into home plate, and it wasn't in time. and he alertly ran down to second base, and then the catcher, Ryan, overthrew the second baseman, Casares, and in came another run. So a very eventful first at-bat for Kelly, and then Kelly actually ended up scoring himself, as this one is swung on and fouled straight back at the screen. Kelly ended up scoring on an RBI single by Blake James as he threw his bat towards the third base dugout. The other manager, the manager for the Bucs, Bowler, Kevin Bowler, hands the bat back to him. Kelly asking for some pine tar or rosin to kind of make sure that he doesn't lose the bat again. As his assistant coach, I believe that's Ryan Marcos right there, yes, gives him some pine tar for the bat. So he'll get a little bit of an extra grip here with a 2-strike count. And runners on the corners for the Pirates. They lead 6-3, bottom of the third inning. Of course, one of the things that the Pirates were just so great at last season, especially, was pitching and defense. But today, they're showing some offense. Salazar comes set, working out of the stretch, checks the runner at third, and now fires a fastball home, high and inside for a ball. And you talk about it, but a catcher always has a great sense of the strike zone. Obviously, he sees it all day behind home plate. And they're really the first ones to recognize whether or not a pitch is a strike or a ball. Breaking ball in the dirt, gets away from Ryan, but Ryan does a good job, or a good enough job, to block it and keep Espinosa on third base. But Cherry did advance in the second on the wild pitch. So payoff pitch to come. 2 runners in scoring position now. Salazar doing battle with Christian Kelly. Christian Kelly, the SCCB All-Star in 2013. Salazar now working out of the windup. Here's the pitch. Nice breaking ball in at the knees, called strike 3, and that will do it for the third inning. But the damage was done. 2 runs extend the lead to 6-3. Pirates on top of the Buccaneers. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network. To the top of 4 we go. 6-3 the score. Pirates on top of the Bucs. First pitch is in there for a strike to Chavez, and it's 0-1. Remaining on the mound is Jack Johnson, who came in the third inning in relief for Ryan Romero. Jack Johnson, of course, the D1 hurler from UC Riverside. This one is low and away, and it's 1-1 to Chavez. Chavez had that 2 RBI knock back in the first inning. At that point, the Buccaneers took a 3-0 lead as this fastball misses high, and it's 2-1. Well, Jack Johnson, as a left-handed pitcher, lists the Dodgers as his favorite team, and it makes sense after you know that, who his 2 favorite pitchers are. or two favorite players in general. Lay kick, and here's the pitch from the left-handed hurler. Swung on and fouled straight back at the screen. Well, his two favorite pitchers or players ever are Clayton Kershaw and Sandy Koufax. Here's the 2-2 offering from Johnson. Checks his swing, a one hopper straight back at Johnson. Johnson fires the first for the routine putout, and that's the first out here in the fourth inning. So 1-3 if you're scoring at home. Once again, just if you listen to the beginning of the broadcast and you missed it, H.A. David is now at first base replacing George Ortega. David actually started as the extra hitter. Once again, the Pirates are batting 10 today because they can do that in a non-conference game to get everybody some more at-bats, as the first pitch is in there for a ball to Rudy Cesares. Cesares 0 for 1 with a fly out to first base in his first at-bat. Fastball misses high and away, and it's 2-0. Well, Jack Johnson is really a good pitcher, and among other things, he won the CIF championship in high school at JW North High, as this one is swung on. Another fly ball to the first baseman, and practically in the exact same spot that Cesares hit his first one, about 3 or 4 feet foul. And A.J. David makes the grab, and that's the second out. So 2 up, 2 down here in the fourth inning in a 6-3 ball game. Pirates on top of the Bucs. Miles Ryan, the number 9 hitter in the lineup, comes up to the plate. He is 1 for 1 with a single on the day. But as we mentioned, that CIF championship that Jack Johnson won, as this fastball misses high for a ball, 1-0, at JW North. Along the way, he was all-league twice there, and he threw a one-hitter against Jay Serra in the playoffs. Here's the 1-0 offering. Swung and driven to the right side, straight at the second baseman. Slow roller to James, and he makes the routine play over to first base for the final out. So 3 up and 3 down here in the fourth inning. And after 3.5 innings of play, it remains 6-3. Pirates on top of the Bucs. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network. Welcome back to Scalinos Field. Bottom of 4 we go. 6-3 the score. Pirates on top of the Buccaneers. Of course, both teams calling Cal Poly Pomona their home field this season, as they are both a part of the Inland Valley Baseball Association, which Charlie Reynoso has created. Second season for the Pirates, first season for the Bucs. First pitch is a fastball that misses inside to Blake James. James with an RBI single back in the second inning. So he's 1 for 1 on the season. As here's the pitch from Salazar. This pitch is a fastball that misses high, and it's 2-0. Blake James, 5'9", 175-pounder. He'll be a senior at Azusa Pacific this upcoming season. This past year, 51 games, 279 batting average. Swings at this one, little nubber down the third base line, and it's 2-1. Blake James's major is applied exercise science, and he says he wants to be a firefighter after he's done with his baseball career. Here's the 2-1 offering from Salazar. Breaking ball misses low, and it's 3-1. So obviously, hitter's pitch to come, 3-1 the count. Let's see if Blake James can take advantage of it. Before going to Azusa Pacific, James also played at Citrus College, where he's a first-team all-conference selection. And this one is called a strike. Blake James was about a quarter of the way down the first base line, assuming that the umpire would call a ball. But now it's a full count, and he has to step back in the batter's box. Well, we mentioned Jack Johnson, the pitcher, is from Los Osos. Blake James also went to Los Osos. This one swung on and fouled straight back at the screen, and that will remain full count now. So 7th pitch of the at-bat here for Blake James. Major battle against Salazar, the 6'6" righty. Working out of the windup, here's the pitch. Breaking ball misses low and in, and I'm not sure, it almost might have hit James as he heads down to first base. So the leadoff man is on base. We talk about it often, and anytime you get the leadoff man on base, the numbers go up astronomically in terms of scoring a run in that given inning. It's just a lot tougher for a pitcher to deal with that and work out of the stretch and maybe not working out of the windup. As Nathan Virgin steps up to the dish. Nathan Virgin drew a walk in his first plate appearance as he takes this one on the inside for called strike one. 0-1 the count. We mentioned Nathan and his brother both on this team. Both on the team last year as well. Salazar comes set. Fastball swung on and fouled out of play down the first base line. Well, there's really so many guys on these two teams that you look at and they played very well in the junior college level, and this is one of them, and he played so well that garnered him a scholarship to Lindsey Wilson in Kentucky. He was a second-team all-conference performer at Citrus College, and he swings at this one and drives it into left field for a base hit. So the first two runners are on board here for the Pirates in the 4th inning. They lead by 3 runs. As we go back to the top of the lineup, and Matthew Reynoso. Matthew Reynoso 0 for 2 on the day, struck out looking back in the 2nd inning and flew out to left field in the 1st. It's a situation right now where you wonder if maybe they'll lay down a sacrifice bunt and get 2 guys in the scoring position. Salazar checks the runner, squares around, lays it down the third base line, but it just goes foul. So it'll be 0-1 to Reynoso. Matthew Reynoso will be a major in business here at Cal Poly Pomona. Said it's got to be a great experience for him this whole summer to kind of get himself acclimated to playing on this Cal Poly Pomona field, because he is transferring to Cal Poly, where he'll play next season. This past season, played at Citrus College. Had a .248 batting average, a .388 on-base percentage. Good numbers. He just had a little meeting with his uncle, Charlie Reynoso, the manager, and now he steps back in the batter's box with 2 runners on. This one misses low for a ball. So not squaring around that time. Maybe the bunt has been taken off, and Reynoso will get to take some hacks up at the plate. Standing on second base is Blake James, who drew the walk, and on first is Nathan Virgin. Still no outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. This one's on the outside corner for called strike. That is strike 2, and it's 1-2 to Reynoso. Salazar checks the runner at second. Actually taking a long look over at second. Now checks again and finally comes home. Breaking ball in the dirt, and the home plate umpire said yes, he did go. So that will be a strikeout as Reynoso heads back to his dugout. Here comes Kyle Jackson. Jackson 0 for 2 on the day. Grounded out to the shortstop in the first inning and hit a line drive to the third baseman, Bryce Brooks, in his second at bat. If you remember, Brooks kind of ranged a couple feet to his left and made a leaping grab on that one. This one swung on straight at Brooks again. Line drive caught in the air, and he fires the second, and that'll be a double play. Great play by Bryce Brooks. So 2 times in a row, hit really hard and well by Jackson, but right at Brooks, who we've seen, as we mentioned, he was a Pirate last year, very solid fielder, is number 7, Bryce Brooks. So that will do it for the 4th inning. At the end of 4, it remains 6-3, Pirates on top of the Bucs. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network. And welcome back to Scalino's Field. Dave Sobera on the play-by-play. So glad that you could join us for this matchup between the Bucs and Pirates. Opening day here at Cal Poly Pomona. 6-3 the score. Pirates on top of the Bucs. Pirates fell behind 3-0 in the first inning, but answered with 6 unanswered runs here, as that is strike 1 into Hayatsuwayo. There is a new pitcher on the mound, towing the rubber for the Pirates. That is Sean Patton, wearing number 18. This one swung on and driven through the right side hole, making a diving backhanded grab, and now firing to first is the first baseman Ortega, but Ortega threw it a little wide of the pitcher Sean Patton, covering the base. That'll be an interesting scoring ruling, and I think maybe you gotta rule that a single, as it was almost a great play made by Ortega. And we'll keep an eye on that. As I mentioned earlier, it seems like Ortega and David are just kind of alternating every 2 innings out there at first base. As we mentioned, there is an extra hitter in, and A.J. David is listed as the extra hitter, so I guess they're going to be alternating every couple innings there at first base. So Hayatsuwayo is now on second after the error. So we'll give him a single, and then we'll say he advanced to second on the throwing error by swung on and missed by Riley by Ortega. Kevin Riley, 1 for 2 on the day, flew out to right field in the second inning and had a double, a line drive to left center field. One hopped off the wall in the first inning. He ended up scoring, as this pitch is low for a ball, and I think Christian Kelly tried to fake the runner at second base. He kind of acted like he didn't catch it, but he gloved it, backhand gloved it. And he kind of shrugged it off as the runner out there did not bite. That, of course, is Hyatt Schweio. Covering second base, and now stepping off the mound is Patton, as it looked like they might have had a pickoff play with the second baseman James, who was crashing for second base. Patton, 6'4", 190-pound right-handed pitcher. Lay kick, and here's the pitch. Fastball misses low for a ball, and it's 2-0 to Kevin Riley. Sean Patton is from Citrus College, where he'll be a sophomore next season. This past season had 17 appearances, started 6 games for the Owls. Fastball swung on and fouled out of play down that first base line and gets over the clubhouse here at Cal Poly Pomona into the dorm area. As we mentioned, the dorms are adjacent to the baseball field. Really a nice area, nice scenery. Lots of trees out in the outfield, stretching from left field all the way across to right field. Patton checks the runner at second, and here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled out of play. This one is into the parking lot. Only students are allowed to park there, so I don't know if any of the parents have to worry about their cars being hit in that situation. Patton comes set, working out of the stretch. Runner still on second. Lay kick, and here's the pitch. The runner's off. This one's swung on and driven down the left field line, but foul. And Riley, as we mentioned, this is the first game for the Inland Valley Buccaneers, but I wouldn't be surprised if I see Riley move from the second spot to maybe the third or fourth spot later on in the season. He seems to have a lot of power for the Bucs. Still a 2-strike pitch. Still got to protect the plate if you're Riley. Here's the pitch. Fastball misses low and away. He shows great plate discipline. And another long count here, another extended count. And that's maybe a reason why you put him at the 2 spot, because he just sees a lot of pitches, and he lets the rest of the lineup really get to diagnose the entire arsenal of the pitcher. Here's the pitch. Fastball misses low, so a walk is drawn by Riley. And now there are 2 men on board here, the first 2 men on base in the inning for the Bucs. So top of the 5th inning, 6-3 is the score as the number 3 hitter Tanner Thibodeau steps to the plate. He is the designated hitter for today. He is 1 for 1, also reached on a hit by pitch, had an RBI single and scored back in the first inning. As we were starting to say, Patton did pitch in 17 games for Citrus College, had a 5-4 record, 2.07 ERA. Squaring around is Thibodeau, and Thibodeau gets it down on the left side of the infield and making a nice play over to third base is Reynoso. Reynoso charging on the bunt and sidearming it over to Ortega at first, but the job was done by Tanner Thibodeau, who sacrifices the 2 runners into scoring position. So advancing 90 feet is Hyatt Schweio, the leadoff hitter, who reached on a single, and then Kevin Riley, who reached on a walk. Of course, if you recall, Hyatt Schweio's hit was in the right side hole. Ortega made a diving grab and then threw it to first base, but had a little bit of a throwing error. So that's how he reached on second base. First pitch is called a strike to Bryce Brooks, who is 1 for 2 on the day. Bryce Brooks, the right-handed hitter, going against Patton, the right-handed pitcher. This one is overthrown, about a foot in the dirt. Another good job by Kelly to stop that pitch. Sean Patton is a business major, looking to go about his business right here and hopefully get out of this jam with 2 runners on and 1 out. Checks the runner at second, fires home, and this one is high for a ball. Well, we mentioned that 2.07 ERA a little bit earlier. He also had 62 strikeouts and 65 in a third innings pitched, almost a strikeout per inning pitched at Citrus College. Very, very stellar job, as this one is swung on and fouled straight back at the screen, and it's 1-2 to Brooks. I mean, those numbers ended up getting first-team all-conference accolades. He and his teammate Johnny Reynoso were both first-team all-conference on Citrus College. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball swung on, a three-chopper over to the shortstop. He fires across the diamond. Nice sidearm throw by Espinoza, but scoring on the play is Hayashwayo, and it's now 6-4. So credit Bryce Brooks with the RBI groundout, as Kevin Riley also advanced 90 feet into third base. This one is swung on and foul, tipped into the glove of Kelly. Jake Teagle is at the plate. Teagle 0 for 1 on the day, grounded out into a double play, and also walked and scored back in the first inning. This one misses low and away, and it's 1-1 to Teagle. Looking out of the windup, here's the pitch from Patton. Fastball high and in, and it's 2-1. A lot of guys do that. Obviously, when you have a runner on third, you can work out of the windup as opposed to the stretch because you don't think the runner is going to try to steal home plate on you. Patton towing the rubber from the left side of the mound. Fires a fastball, and this one is low and away, and it's 3-1. So a hitter's pitch to come with a man on third base. The Bucs trail by 2 runs, hoping to cut that deficit in half and make it a 1-run game. Patton likes what he sees from his catcher's signs. Fires. Fastball misses out. Oh, it's called a strike. Both Teagle and I thought that was going to be a ball as Teagle headed down first base and threw his bat back at his dugout. But a strike is called, and it's now a full count. So now a payoff pitch to come between Teagle and Patton. Here's the pitch. Fastball swung on and fouled straight back at me. Literally hit a couple feet over my head. Of course, there's a fence right here to protect me. As we'll do it again. Another payoff pitch to come. So 7th pitch of the at-bat here. Breaking ball swung on and bounced foul. Right at the third base coach and manager, Kevin Bowler. And he actually did a really good job fielding out there. And now we have an 8th pitch of the at-bat. So really good at-bat right here for the Buccaneers. Let's see if they can take advantage of it with a man on third base. This one called strike 3, pretty much the same spot the other one was called where Teagle thought he had drawn a walk, and he will head back to his dugout kind of disgusted at the call as he is struck out. And it's now 6-4. Buccaneers are trailing the Pirates here at the end of 4.5 innings of play. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network. Bottom of 5 we go, 6-4 the score. Pirates ahead of the Buccaneers. Of course, it was the Bucs who jumped out to a 3-0 lead. Then the Pirates came back with 6 of their own before the Bucs tacked on 1 in that last inning. That is where we stand. First pitch swung on and missed by A.J. David. David 0 for 1 on the day. Was hit by a pitch and scored back in the third inning. David, 6'2", 200-pound left-handed hitter. We talked about it. Very, very good hitter. One of the best on this Pirate team back in 2013. Fastball misses outside. A.J. David garnered all sorts of accolades at San Bernardino Valley College, as he was a first-team All-State selection. This one misses low in the dirt. That'll be ball 2. He was also first-team All-Conference twice, both of his years, his freshman and sophomore year. First-team All-Western region, and had the second most RBIs in the state. It's a matchup of two pretty big guys, as this one misses outside, and it's 3-1. 6'6" against 6'2". Here's the pitch from Salazar. This one's outside, so a 5-pitch walk drawn by David, and he is on base for the second time today. As we mentioned, David and Ortega, the 3 and 4 hitters, kind of switching back and forth in between first base. Ortega now steps up, 1 for 2 on the day, singled and scored back in the second inning. Ortega had that really great backhanded stab, as this one is a breaking ball that bounces in the dirt. Running to second is A.J. David on the wild pitch. So great job really diagnosing that ball and noticing that the breaking pitch was coming about a foot shy of home plate and reading it and heading into scoring position. Well, you'll see it throughout the course of the season, but so many of these players on the Pirates, at least from last season, the ones I've seen, are really great fundamental players. Very high baseball IQs, as this fastball is on the inside and it's 1-1, and Ortega really looked like he didn't like that call. Kind of had a little blank stare back at the home plate umpire. As we mentioned, Ortega just getting back from Idaho, where the NAIA World Series were. Swings at this one, and this one's driven down the left field line and fair. Rounding third and coming home to score is A.J. David. Heading into second is Ortega with a sliding double. I'm not sure if he needed the slide, but he gets dirty anyways, and it's now 7-4. The Pirates are on top of the Bucs. So an RBI double for George Ortega. The heart of the lineup coming through so far here in the 5th inning. As you mentioned, David with the walk, then advances on the wild pitch, and then comes home on the RBI double by Ortega. Here's Johnny Reynoso now. First pitch misses low for ball 1, and then it's 1-0 to Johnny. Johnny, so far, two times up at the plate, 2 times on base, 2 runs scored. So a lot of production out of that 5 spot for the Pirates. Fastball in there, and that'll be a strike, and it's 1-1. It's interesting to note that Charlie Reynoso is actually not coaching third base anymore. It looks like that's Ryan Marcos out there at third now. So we had a managerial change, as this one is a breaking ball low and away, and it's 2-1 to Reynoso. Well, Reynoso, we talked about it, headed to West Texas A&M next year after putting together great numbers this past season at Citrus College. Swings at this one, and it's fouled off the edge of the bat. Little nubber, and it's 2-2. We actually mentioned him back in the last inning when Patton was pitching, because both he and Patton played for Citrus College, and both of them were first-team all-conference selections this past year. He hit .310 for them. Great numbers, as Salazar checks back at second. Nobody holding Ortega on. This one is swung on and missed, and that will be strike 3. The catcher's going to have to fire down to first base because it bounced, and he makes the out there at first base, but advancing to third is Ortega. So that'll be the first out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. 1 run in already. That run was scored by A.J. David on the RBI double by Ortega, who now stands 90 feet away from scoring in a 7-4 ball game. Greg Espinoza steps up to the dish. This one swung on and just foul. Bryce Brooks laid out for that. It was maybe 3 inches foul, at least from where I'm sitting. And Bryce Brooks tried to make the backhanded diving grab, but just couldn't. So it's now 0-1 to Espinoza. Espinoza 1 for 2 on the day. RBI single back in the 3rd inning. As we mentioned, Espinoza heading to Houston Baptist from Orange Coast College. There's a little bit of a pipeline from Orange Coast College to Houston Baptist, actually. Next season, there will be 4 players that played at OCC that will be at Houston Baptist. Another one is Andrew Alvarez, who's a pitcher on this Pirate team. So 2 Pirates heading out to Houston to play D1 baseball. That breaking ball just missed in the dirt, and now working quickly is Salazar, and this one is fouled. So Espinoza protecting the plate. Espinoza actually wearing his OCC batting helmet. Nickname is Espy. Here's the pitch. Checks his swing and held up, and that got past the catcher. That'll be a wild pitch as Ortega comes in to score, and it's now 8-4. So that's kind of tough for Art Salazar and the Bucs for that matter, because Ortega ends up scoring and getting 2 bases that he really, in theory, shouldn't have had. He ended up going to 3rd because there was a strikeout and the ball hit the ground, so they had to complete the out over at first base, and Ortega advanced to 3rd on the throw and then comes home on the wild pitch. Fastball swung on off the left shin of Espinoza. Espinoza's grabbing down at that left ankle. Home plate umpire doing a good job, I'd say a classy job, of walking out to the pitcher and kind of buying Espinoza time as Espinoza tries to walk it off down the 3rd base line. Talk to his 3rd base coach out there. But 8-4 the score now. So the Bucs kind of stopped the bleeding finally in the top of the 5th. After going up 3-0, they fell behind 6-3, and then they tacked on that 1 run to make it 6-4. But now in this bottom half of the 5th, the Pirates answer back with 2 of their own, and that's where we stand. The score is 8-4. So offensive fireworks here on display in the first game of a doubleheader to start this season. Fastball misses outside. And this is another very lengthy at bat. Espinoza showing very good eye in the strike zone. Fastball swung on and fouled down the first base line towards the first base dugout, just past it actually, as Ortega looked like he was going to hustle down and get it, but now the first base coach will toss it to him. Last season in the SCCBL, Espinoza hit .286, 6 runs, 2 RBIs. Here's the pitch. Fastball, 59-footer in the dirt, and Espinoza will draw the hard walk. Very long at bat, and he heads down to 1st. This is interesting to note. Espinoza, I just noticed on that last pitch, and I don't know if he does this for every pitcher, if he was just doing this because he had a 2-strike pitch and he was trying to protect, but he was choked up a good amount on that bat, and that's something that as a younger player that you could really learn from, because you want to choke up and kind of just choke and poke, they always say, as Art Salazar's day will now be done, as Kevin Bowler will head to his bullpen and Salazar will head to his bench and get some congrats from his dugout. And we will see who the new pitcher is here for the Inland Valley Buccaneers. The new pitcher for the Inland Valley Buccaneers is number 11, Daniel Diaz. Large right-handed hurler, 6'4", 170 pounds. Plays at Mount San Antonio College. Mount Sac pretty close by to Cal Poly Pomona as he gets his warm-up throws here. So we can close the books on Salazar. Salazar, 2 1/3 innings pitched after Jason De La Pena pitched 2 innings. And now we just mentioned Daniel Diaz comes in as the third pitcher here in this first game for the Buccaneers. We also mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast that Coach Bowler said that he would try to get most of his pitchers involved today in these 2 games. Try to get most of the pitchers 2 innings of work, maybe 3 innings of work here and there, and just wants to see what they have and kind of wants to get their arms loosened out and, you know, kind of just working back into things here in the summer season. You don't want to stretch anybody out too much here in the first game and maybe extend them to like 5 innings or so. As Diaz continues to take his warm-up throws. This past season as a freshman at Mount San Antonio College, in 10 appearances he had a 4.50 ERA, 12 innings pitched, but 17 strikeouts, so more than 1 strikeout per inning. But he was a pitcher that in those innings had a lot of strikeouts but also a lot of walks, so he has really good stuff, but the question will be, can he control it? We're about to find out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. 8-4 remains the score. The Pirates on top of the Bucs. The Pirates have plated 2 runs here in this 5th inning. A.J. David scored on an RBI double by Ortega, and Ortega scored on a wild pitch from Salazar, who is now out. Here's the pitch from Diaz. Runner is off with the pitch, firing down, and not in time is Miles Ryan, the catcher, and so that will be a stolen base for Greg Espinosa. Espinosa really just read Diaz's throwing motion, and he was off really early. Maybe Diaz didn't really check over there at first base because, like I said, that was a very big jump. And now the Pirates have another man in scoring position here with 1 out in this bottom of the 5th inning. Bryce Cherry at the plate. Bryce Cherry has reached base both times previously. This one's in the dirt, and it gets by Ryan, and that'll be a wild pitch, as advancing 90 feet is Greg Espinosa. So 2 balls, no strikes to Cherry. Cherry, as we mentioned, he walked and also singled, has an RBI and a run scored, so he's done a little bit of everything at the plate today. Swings at this one and fouls it back at the screen, and it's 2-1. Daniel Diaz's hometown is Chino Hills and went to Ayala High School. A bunch of these guys might know Coach Bowler from Ayala High School. He actually was a coach there before heading to Diamond Bar, as this one misses outside on an off-speed pitch, and it's 3-1. So Bowler now an assistant with Diamond Bar. They just lost in, I believe, the quarterfinals of the CIF tournament, as this one is swung on and fouled out of play down the left field line, and it's a full count. Started to mention it a little bit earlier on, but we didn't get to tell the full story about his hometown is Atascadero and played for Atascadero High School. There he was an all-state performer, 2-time all-county. This one swung on and fouled out of play down the third base line, so same location right there pretty much for Cherry. Might have hit the first one a little bit harder, but nonetheless he's going to see a 7th pitch in this at-bat. In addition to being 2-time all-county, he was 3-time all-league, and he was the San Luis Obispo Player of the Year his senior year in high school. Working out of the stretch is Daniel Diaz with a man on third base. Here's the pitch. Swung on, and another foul ball down the third base line. This one actually stays in the field of play and doesn't reach out of play. So Micah Bayer will pick that one up and head back to the dugout. One of 2 Pirates last year to now play on the Bucs this year. Here comes pitch number 8. Swung on, and another foul ball, and this one will get out of play once again down the left field line. And this is a left-handed hitter, is Cherry. As we mentioned, Bryce Cherry is one of 4 San Francisco State Gators on this team. He was actually teammates with the man on third's brother. That would be Grady Espinosa. This one swung on and fell back at the screen, so we may see a double-digit at bat. This next pitch will be number 9 between Diaz and Bryce Cherry. Lots of lengthy at bats here since probably about the 3rd inning. First couple innings, everybody was swinging pretty early, and now they're showing more discipline at the plate as this one bounces in the dirt, and that will actually get stuck in the fence, as coming home to score is Espinosa on the wild pitch, and it was also a walk because that was ball 4 for Cherry. So Cherry is now on first base, and that is now the 2nd run to score in the inning on a wild pitch. The first one was Salazar's wild pitch. The second one is Diaz's. And that run, of course, will be charged to Salazar. As there's still only 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning, it is now 9-4, Pirates on top of the Bucs. First pitch misses inside for ball 1 to Christian Kelly, 1-0 the count. Well, the Inland Valley Pirates are definitely looking to be one of the top contenders in the SCCBL this year. Kind of got their feet wet last season, saw what the league was all about, and they're ready to take it to the next level this season, as this pitch misses high and inside and actually right over the head of Christian Kelly, and it's 2-0. So a hitter's pitch to come. Let's see if he can maybe sit dead red on fastball here and drive something. Christian Kelly 1 for 2 on the day. Had a 2-run single back in the 2nd inning. This one swung and driven straight back up the middle and right over the head of the second baseman Cesares and into right center field, as that will be a base hit for Kelly, and he's now 2 for 3 on the day, and that one was absolutely laced, a bullet out into the center field. So now there's 2 men on base here for Blake James. Blake James, 1 for 1 on the day, RBI single in the 2nd, and walked in the 4th. Blake James from Azusa Pacific University. Great Division II school. Another local school. As Diaz is working out of the stretch. Diaz fires home. Fastball misses low and away. Nice job by Miles Ryan to block that pitch. So if he didn't block that pitch and it got to the backstop, there would be 2 guys in scoring position right now. So it's 1-0. The infield not really holding either runner on base in a 9-4 game. They're up by 5 runs. Here's the pitch. Fastball paints the outside corner for called strike 1. And it's 1-1 to Blake James. Blake James, another returning player for this Pirate team. He actually had a brother that played here at Cal Poly Pomona. Late kicking, here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled down the first base line. His brother was Chris, or is Chris, I guess I should say. But his brother who played here is Chris. Two and 1 the count to Blake James. 2 runners on. Bottom of the 5th inning. A very lengthy bottom of the 5th inning. This one swung on and bounced to the first baseman, charging it, and now firing down the second base is Teagle. So Teagle will get the force out over at second to Riley, and that'll be the 2nd out of the inning on a fielder's choice. So 3-6 if you're scoring at home on that fielder's choice as Cherry advances to 3rd. Runners on the corners, 2 outs. Here comes Virgin. Nathan Virgin, 1 for 1, reached base both times, walked back in his first plate appearance. Swings and misses at a fastball, and it's 0-1. Last season, Nathan Virgin had a .325 on base percentage in the SCCBL as he swings and misses at this, and it's 0-2. 3 runs scored, 2 RBIs with this Pirates team. As we mentioned, this is not an SCCBL league game. This is just a non-conference game, even though these two teams will participate in the SCCBL all season long. Fastball misses high, and that is another ball. Oh. It's actually a 2-strike count here for Virgin, with runners on the corners, 2 outs, bottom of the 5th inning. This one's low and inside, and a nice job by Ryan to glove that one to save another run from scoring on a wild pitch. We've already had 2 here in this inning. (9-4) the score. It was the Bucs who jumped ahead 3-0. Pirates came back with 6. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. That is strike 3, and that will do things for this 5th inning. But the Pirates came back with 6. The Bucs finally answered with 1 of their own, so it was 6-4. And then in the bottom half of this inning, Pirates coming through with 3 runs to extend that lead out to 9-4. And that's where we stand at the end of 5 innings. Pirates 9, Bucs 4. You're listening to Inland Valley Baseball. Welcome back to the top of 6 we go. Sean Patton remains on the bump for the Inland Valley Pirates in a 9-4 game. The men in red on top of the men in white. If you're just joining us, the men in red are the Pirates and the men in white are the Buccaneers. Fastball swung on and missed by Escobar. So we have a replacement in right here for the first time for the Buccaneers as we get to the 6th inning. Leg kick, and here's the pitch. Swung on. Shallow fly ball in the right field as the right fielder makes the catch for the first out of the inning. That still is Cherry. I was wondering if that might have been a replacement, but no, Bryce Cherry still is out in right field. So Escobar is now 0 for 1 as Cesarez will step up to the plate. Chavez will step up to the plate. Chavez takes on the outside corner for strike 1, and it's 0-1 to Chavez. Richie is 1 for 2 on the day. Grounded back to the pitcher in his 4th inning. And had a 2-run single back in the 1st inning. Breaking ball in the dirt for a ball. At that point, everything was going well for the Bucs as the count is 2-1. I mean, the 1st inning could not have gone any better. Swung on and fouled back at the screen, and it's 2-2. And I say that because in the 1st inning, the Buccaneers plated 3 runs, and then they retired the side in order. So at that point, it was looking like this was going to be a great game for the Bucs, as this one is swung on and missed, and it gets in the dirt. So Kelly will have to throw down to first, and he makes the throw to Ortega for the 2nd out of this inning. But ever since that 1st inning, it's really been all Pirates. First pitch is swung and fouled back towards the first base side by the pinch hitter Johnny Juarez. So it looks like the Bucs are starting to get a few more players into the game now and seeing what these other players have to offer. As this pitch is called a strike, and now it's a 2-strike count here to Juarez. Juarez, 5'11", 190 pounds, right-handed hitter from Mount San Antonio College. Swings and misses at this one, and that is strike 3. So a very, very good inning right there by Sean Patton, and really showing why he was a first-team all-conference selection for Citrus College. And at the end of 5.5 innings of play, it remains 9-4, Pirates on top of the Bucs. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network.
Tipped, there you are. You're living for your life. You're a shooting star. All those years, no one knows just how hard you work. But now it shows that one shining moment you reached deep inside. In one shining moment, you knew you were alive. Feel the beat of your heart, feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest, it's more than a race. Your best, 'cause inside you knew that one shining moment.
And welcome back. 9-4 the score. Pirates on top of the Buccaneers. So glad you could join us wherever you may be on inlandvalleybaseball.com. My name is Dave Sobera, bringing you the play-by-play for all the home games for the Pirates and Buccaneers this season, and some select road games as well. First pitch is in there for called strike 1 to Reynoso. Matt Reynoso, the leadoff hitter, 0 for 3 on the day. Going against Daniel Diaz, who came in relief in the last half inning. Leg kick, and here's the pitch. This one is bounced to the right side to the first baseman, Ortega. And Ortega stands on first and has the 3 unassisted putout. So Reynoso now falls to 0 for 4. Let's get some defensive changes out there for the Bucs. There are a lot of them. We have Cortez now in at center field, Rabito in at right field, Ramirez in at third base, Seminaris in at shortstop, Cesares remains at second, and Ortega now at first base, and Campbell behind the dish. So lots of changes here in the 6th inning for the Buccaneers. Here's the pitch. This one misses high and inside for ball 1 to Kyle Jackson. Kyle Jackson 0 for 3 on the day. So the first 2 batters struggling in the lineup for the Pirates, but after that it's been very good. Swung on and missed, and it's 0-2. Although Kyle Jackson did hit 2 balls really hard, and 2 really great plays were made at the hot corner by Bryce Brooks. Bryce Brooks made a leaping catch on one of them and made a diving backhanded catch on the other. Breaking ball that doesn't really break and hangs high. And it's now 1-2 to Jackson. Beautiful day in Pomona. Hot day, though. As we see some of the relief pitchers getting their laps in around the outfield grass, as this one is called a strike. And it's funny because you see that in spring training. If you ever go to spring training, you see the professional players kind of run polls from foul pole to foul pole back in the outfield as the games are going on. As this one is swung on and driven down the third base line, foul towards the bullpen where somebody is loosening up for the Buccaneers. It looks like that is number 20, Micah Bayer. Micah Bayer out there warming up. And he actually was a Pirate last season. One of 2 Buccaneers that played for the Pirates last season. Diaz shakes off his catcher Campbell's sign and now fires a fastball, and it's low for a ball to Jackson. Jackson working a full count here against Diaz. Diaz working out of the windup, of course, with nobody on base, and 1 out here in the 6th inning. This one swung on a number off the edge of the bat down to the third baseman, who fires to first for the out. Of course, the new third baseman is Ramirez. And looking at Ramirez, kind of has a football build almost. Looks like a very powerful young guy. It'll be great to see him once he comes to the plate. Ramirez is actually the only high school player on this roster. Plays for Coach Bowler at Diamond Bar. Put up absolutely ridiculous numbers as this one misses high and inside. Actually, that last play, I guess, was a foul ball. It must have deflected off the shin. I did not see the foul call by the home plate umpire, but Jackson now heads to first base with a free pass. So credit Jackson with the walk there, because the ball was definitely in fair play, so it must have hit off his ankle. Here's A.J. David. Fastball misses low, and it's 1-0. It makes a lot more sense because Jackson basically jogged down the first baseline that play that was made by Ramirez. So obviously he did that because he knew that it hit off his shin. Jackson gets dirty over there at first base as a pickoff throw was attempted by Diaz. A.J. David at the plate. 2 runs scored today. Reached on a walk and a hit by pitch. Also struck out back in the first inning. This one swung on and missed, and it's 0-1. Bottom of the 6th inning, 9-4 the score. Pirates on top of the Bucs. Diaz comes set in the stretch. Here's the pitch. Fastball misses low. David tells his runner at first base not to go. It was a good job by Campbell stopping it and keeping it in front of him and to not allow it to get back to the backstop. As we saw a bunch of pitches happen in that last half inning where a couple runs scored on wild pitches. Speaking of this, the runner is off with the pitch, and Kyle Jackson slides in head first safely with a stolen bag. So a stolen base for Kyle Jackson, one of 4 SCCBL All-Stars in 2013. Tied for a team-high .340 batting average with the man who's at the plate right now, A.J. David. Here's the pitch, swung on, a high towering fly ball down the left field line that's slicing foul and out of play. We have one more positional change that we have to update. Out there in left field is Escobar, Charles Escobar. So that completes the entire defensive alignment for the Buccaneers. As I mentioned, all the other changes earlier in this inning. Swung on and missed, and that is strike 3. So that'll be a strikeout for David in the second out of this inning. So just to refresh, here are the new defensive players for the Buccaneers. It's Escobar in left, Cortez in center, Rabito in right, Ramirez at third, Seminaris at short, Ortega at first, Campbell behind the dish. And Cesaris remains the only starter in at second base. Bottom of the 6th inning, 2 outs. Here's the pitch from Diaz. Fastball in there for strike 1, and it's 0-1 to George oh no, this is not George Ortega. This is a pinch hitter, Andrew Alvarez. Andrew Alvarez from Orange Coast College, headed to Houston Baptist next season, a Division I school in the Southland Conference. Swings at this one, a high towering fly ball in the infield. Shortstop is calling for it. That is Anthony Seminaris, and he makes the grab. So that will do it for the 6th inning. And at the end of 6, it remains 9-4, Pirates on top of the Bucs. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball on the Inland Valley Baseball Network.
You spin my head right round when you go down, down.
You spin my head right around when you go down,
Hey, I got the house with my swagger, hop in that window, I got places to go. People to see, time is precious, I look at my Cartier out of control. Just like my mind where I'm going, the women, the shorties know nothing but clothes. No stopping at my Pirelli's on roll, unlike my jewelry that's always on roll. I know the storm is coming, my pockets keep telling me it's gonna shower. Call up my homies, it's on and popping the night cause it's meant to be ours. We keep a fadeaway shot cause we ballin' this platinum Patron every hour. Look mama, ow, you just like the flowers. Girl, you the truth with all that goody power. You spin my head right round when you go down, down.
You spin my head right around when you go down,
From the top of the pole, I watch her go down. She got me throwing my money around. Ain't nothing more beautiful to be found. It's going down. From the top of the pole, I watch her go down. She got me throwing my money around. Ain't nothing more beautiful to be found. It's going down. Shawty must know I'm the man. My money lover like a #1 fan. Don't open my mouth, let her talk to my fans. My Benjamin Franklin lands. A couple of grands, I got rubber bands. My paper planes making a dance. Get dirty all night, that's part of my plan. We building castles that's made out of sand. She's amazing, fire blazing, hotter than Cajun. Girl, won't you move a little closer? Time to get paid, it's maximum wage. That body belong on a poster. I'm in the days, that bottom is waving at me like, damn it, I know you. You on the show like a gun out of holster. Tell me whatever and I'll be your chauffeur. You spin my head right round when you go down, down.
You spin my head right around.
And welcome back to Scalinos Field on the campus of Cal Poly Pomona. We're headed to the top of the 7th inning in a 9-4 ball game. Pirates on top of the Bucs as Cortez comes to the plate. First pitch is bunted down the third base line. Cortez trying to bunt for a single, and he will not get there in time. A nice play made by Alvarez, digging out the throw from Reynoso, who fired sidearm and one-hopped it. So 5-3 on the putout. There's also a new pitcher in for the Inland Valley Pirates as this one misses high and inside for a ball as Seminaris is now at the plate. The new pitcher is Conlon McKenzie. Conlon McKenzie, 6'2", 240-pound right-handed pitcher, as this one is a high fly ball down the first base line and fouled out of play and actually hit the shed right behind the first base dugout. Colin McKinley playing for Citrus College this past season as a freshman, 17 appearances, 3-2 record, 3 saves, 3.86 ERA, and maybe his most impressive stat, which we'll get to after this pitch, as this one misses low and away for a ball. His most impressive stat is probably the amount of strikeouts he had in innings pitched, 31 strikeouts in 25 2/3 innings pitched, so more than 1 strikeout per inning. Here's the pitch. Fastball misses low and outside for a ball. Meanwhile, Anthony Seminaris came in as a defensive replacement in the 6th inning. He's 5'10", 175 pounds. Here's the pitch. This one swung on, and this will make its way out of play down that right field line. Chasing it was Alvarez, who came in at first base to replace the combination of Ortega and David. Also, Varela is in at second base. Try to see any other substitutions for the Pirates. It's hard to see the outfielders, but Gill is in at catcher now in replacement for Kelly, as this one is a 59-footer in the dirt, and Seminaris heads to first base with the walk. Here comes another guy who came in as a replacement in the 6th inning. This is Campbell, Brendan Campbell, 5'10", 170 pounds. Played this past season for Citrus College, 25 games, 242 batting average. This one misses outside and low for ball 1, and it's 1-0. Of course, standing on first is Seminaris, who drew that walk after a pretty lengthy at-bat. Brendan Campbell was an honorable mention all-conference selection, as this fastball misses high, and it's 2-0. Another guy who we see is stout with the bat, but really makes his living behind home plate as a defensive catcher. Here's the pitch. Outside, 3-0. Hometown Arcadia, played for Arcadia High School, where he was a first-team All-CIF selection, first-team All-Area selection, and, of course, a first-team All-League selection if you garnered those other 2 accolades. This one is just on the outside corner, called to strike to Campbell. It's now 3-1. Hitter's pitch to come for number 10. It'll be interesting to see going into the second game of the doubleheader how Coach Bowler plays it. Maybe the guys who started in this game will finish the next game. The guys who finish this game will start the next game. This is a fly ball, routine fly ball out to left field, ranging about 5 feet to his left is the outfielder out there, who I believe is now, I think that might be, no, maybe it's still Reynoso out there. So that'll be the second out of the inning here in the top of the 7th. As Ramirez steps up to the plate. Ramirez came in at third base in the last inning. I mentioned it, Ramirez is one of the few players, or I should say the only player, as he swings and misses at the first pitch, that will be in high school next season, a senior at Diamond Bar High. Of course, playing for Coach Bowler at Diamond Bar High School this past season. They were just eliminated in the playoffs earlier this week. Swings at this pitch, line drive to center field, and that gets down for a base hit. So Ramirez is on board, and now there's 2 runners on base here with 2 outs in the top of the 7th inning. The Buccaneers, trailing by 5 runs, would like to get something here in this inning to kind of just chip away at the lead and make it a little bit more manageable in their next couple at-bats, as Ortega steps up to the plate. Ortega played at first in that last inning. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed, and it's 0-1 to Ortega. Michael Ortega, 6'0", 185 pounds. Played at College of Southern Idaho his freshman season. 36 games, 211 batting average, 325 on base percentage. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball in there for a called strike. Of course, Colin McKenzie is the 4th pitcher here for the Pirates. It was Ryan Romero who went 2. Jack Johnson went 2. Sean Patton went 2. And let's see if Conlon McKenzie goes 2 or if he might just close it out for the final 3. This one misses low and away. Ortega telling the runner on second base to hold up and not try to advance there. So all of a sudden, Buccaneers trying to get a little momentum here in the 7th inning. 2 outs, but 2 men on base. Seminaris is on second after he drew the walk, as this one is swung on, a little number off the end of the bat. Another sidearm throw, nice charging play by Reynoso. And this one was right in the numbers, right in that number 1 and 9. at Andrew Alvarez. So that'll do it for the top half of the 7th inning. It's time to stretch here at Cal Poly Pomona, and a 9-4 game, Pirates on top. To the bottom of 7 we go. 9-4 the score. Pirates on top of the Bucs. Here comes Reynoso to the plate. Daniel Diaz remains on the bump for the Buccaneers. Lay kick, and here's the pitch. Fastball swung on and fouled straight back at the screen, and it's 0-1. Johnny Reynoso, 0 for 2 on the day. Did score 2 runs. Reached on a walk and a fielder's choice. Here's the pitch. This one swung on and fouled off the ankle. So Reynoso will walk around a little bit, kind of walk it off. As it's now 0-2, Campbell picks up the ball and hands it to the home plate umpire. Well, just to refresh, the Bucs were leading 3-0 at the end of 1 inning. And the Pirates came back with 6 runs in the second and third, 4 in the second and 2 in the third to be exact. This fastball is high and away, and it's now 1-2. Then in the 5th inning, the Bucs stopped the bleeding temporarily and made it 6-4. But in the bottom half of that 5th inning, Pirates played it 3 more, and that's where we stand right now. 9-4 the score here at Cal Poly Pomona. Fastball misses outside, and it's 2-2 to Reynoso. As we mentioned, 3 Reynosos on this team. Johnny and Aaron, the brothers. And then their cousin, Matthew, as well as their father, Matthew's uncle, and Johnny and Aaron's father, Charlie, the manager. Fastball misses high and away, and it's 3-2. So just like that, the count was 0-2, and now Reynoso showing great plate discipline. Makes it a full count. Payoff pitch to come between Diaz and Reynoso. It was actually interesting, and a lot of these guys have played together, including the catcher and hitter right now. Reynoso giving a fist bump to Campbell when they met each other at the batter's box before this at-bat. They both played at Citrus College this past season. This one swung on and fell back at the screen, so we'll do it again. Another 3-2 count to come. 7th pitch of the at-bat. Diaz shakes his head no. He changes the pitch from his catcher Campbell, and it worked because this is a high fly ball that should be routine for the left fielder, and it is. Escobar makes the catch out there in shallow left field. Had to running in about 10 to 15 feet and a couple feet to his right to make that catch. Here comes a pinch hitter for the Inland Valley Pirates, and that is Jason Padlow, 5'11", 200-pound right-handed hitter. Plays for Cal Poly Pomona, where he'll be a junior next season. Fastball low, ball one. Jason Padlow put up some stellar stats this past season as a sophomore. In 24 games, a .328 batting average here at Cal Poly. Swung on and foul back at the screen, and it's 1-1. So, he must feel comfortable in that batter's box playing collegiately here at Cal Poly Pomona. Actually, back in his freshman year, he was an honorable mention all-conference selection in the CCAA, as this one misses low, and it's 2-1 to Padlow. That season, he had a 13-game hitting streak. Hit .326, 56 hits in 48 games, so more than one hit per game. Here's the 2-1. Oh, high and tight. And it's now 3-1 to Padlow. We talk about the bloodlines, but Padlow's another guy who has baseball just pumping through his blood. Here's the pitch. This one is on the outside corner, called a strike, and it's now a full count to Padlow. Well, Jason's father, John, played minor league baseball in the Giants farm system. His grandfather played in the Yankees system, and his brother just committed to University of San Diego recently. So very big baseball family is the Padlow family. Swung on and missed, strike three. So down goes Padlow. And that'll be the second out here in the seventh inning, as we have another pinch hitter in the form of Henley. Nolan Henley, wearing number 3, 5'11", 175 pounds, from the University of Laverne. Here's the pitch from Diaz. Fastball misses low, and that's ball one. 1-0 the count. Nolan Henley says his nickname is Butters. Got to catch up with him and find out why exactly that is. Here's the 1-0. It's in there for a strike. This past season as a sophomore at the University of Laverne, 40 games played, .293 batting average, .384 on base percentage. So very good with the stick at the University of Laverne in the SCIAC conference, quality Division III conference out here in Southern California. As that one's a ball. Here's the pitch from Diaz. Swung on. Fly ball in the infield, and Diaz looks like he's the one that's going to call for it, and he makes the catch for the final out of the inning. So normally you don't see pitchers making too many fly ball catches. You normally see a first baseman or a third baseman try to help him out. That was very shallow, only about 6-7 feet in front of home plate. And so really the only two players who were converging upon the ball was the catcher and the pitcher is the one who puts it away ultimately right there. And so at the end of 7 innings of play, the score remains 9-4, Pirates on top of the Bucs. You're listening on the Inland Valley Baseball Network. Welcome back to Scalino's Field. 9-4 the score. Pirates on top of the Bucs. Dave Sobera on the play-by-play. So glad you could join us wherever you may be. There is a new pitcher on the mound for the Pirates. That is Corey Davis. As we also have a new hitter in for the Buccaneers. That is Rabito. Rabito actually came in as a defensive replacement back in the 6th inning. So this is just his first at-bat, as the first pitch is a breaking ball in low for ball 1 from Davis. Fastball, called a strike on the outside corner, and it's 1-1. Corey Davis, 6'2", 175-pound right-handed pitcher from San Francisco State, where he'll be a senior next season. Fastball in, 1-2. We're moving the fastball around a little bit. First goes outside, then comes back in. Kind of keep the hitter Rabito guessing. And this one is a breaking ball that breaks hard in the dirt, and it's 2-2. Well, this past season for San Francisco State was a very good season for Davis. He was a second-team All-West Region selection by Daktronics. As this one is swung on and missed, strike 3, first out of the inning. Daktronics does their all-conference and all-regional selections solely on statistics, so you know his statistics had to have been good, and here's what they were. In 25 appearances, he had 41 innings pitched for San Francisco State, 4-2 record, 13 saves, so a very good closer. As this one is swung on and driven to the right side, ranging to his right, to his left actually, is the second baseman Varela, and he fires the first for the second out of the inning. So Varela showing a lot of range, going back and into the right side hole and making that play. We have 2 down here in the top of the 8th inning. Corey Davis, one of 4 Gators from San Francisco State on this Pirate team, as this fastball misses low for ball 1, 1-0 the count. Previous year, Corey Davis played for Orange Coast College. Their fastball in, and it's 2-0. Mentioned a few other guys on this team played for Orange Coast College, including Andrew Alvarez, who's now at first base. This fastball is swung on, a 2-hopper to the shortstop. Fields cleanly and fires across the diamond for the out. That is Padlo, who came in last inning in replacement of Espinosa. And so at the end of 7.5 innings of play, the Pirates cling to that 9-4 lead. You're listening to the Inland Valley Baseball Network.
Just a small town girl living in a lonely
9-4 the score. Pirates on top of the Bucs, bottom of the 8th. New pitcher is Micah Bayer, 5'11", 145-pound right-handed pitcher. Plays for Cal Baptist. He was actually a Pirate last season, but now is a Buccaneer this season. Swung on the first pitch down the right field line, and that will fall for a base hit for Gill. So the catcher, on the first pitch he sees in the game, jumps on it and drives it out to right field for that base knock. So the leadoff man is on board as Varela comes to the plate. This will also be the first at-bat of the game for Varela. Channing Varela, 5'9", 170-pound right-handed hitter. Bea comes set in the stretch, fires a fastball, strike one. 0-1 the count. Channing Varela from Riverside City College, where he'll be a sophomore next season. This past season, 24 games played, 49 at-bats. As this is a pickoff throw over to first base. Getting dirty is the runner over there, Gill, who singled to right field. Absolutely ripped that pitch out there to right field. Varela's hometown is Chino and went to Chino High School. Breaking ball low and away. Nice job by Campbell to catch that ball, to backhand that ball actually, and to make sure that the runner didn't advance 90 feet and into scoring position. On deck is Bernardi. So he will come in for Virgin when he gets up to the plate. Another pickoff attempt over at first base. So, especially at the beginning of the season, you see lots of changes starting in the 5th or 6th inning in the Summer League. Everybody needs to get their playing time. As the runner is off with the pitch, this is a hit and run, and it works to perfection as Cesar has left the hole on the right side of the infield, and Varela placed it perfectly right on that right side of the infield for the base hit, and advancing to third is Gill. So runners on the corners here with no outs in the bottom of the 8th inning for the Pirates. Here comes Bernardi for his first at-bat of the game. Jacob Bernardi, 6'2", 190. Another player from Cal Poly Pomona, so should feel very comfortable in this batter's box. Bayer comes set. Here's the pitch. Fastball high and away. Ball one. 1-0 the count. He's a business administration major, is number 14 Bernardi. Wants to become a coach or work in marketing after his baseball career is finished. So Jacob Bernardi digs in on a 1-0 pitch from Bayer. This one misses outside, and it's 2-0. Bayer actually kind of charged. I don't know if he thought that maybe Campbell didn't catch the ball behind home plate, but he did. So it's now 2-0 for number 2-0, which is Bayer. He'll check the runner at first very quickly and now comes set in the stretch. The runner goes. This one's swung on, line drive to left field. Making the catch. No, it's not going to be made out there in left field by Escobar. It gets over his head, and in comes one run. That's Gill. Rounding third and scoring is another run. That is Varela. And headed to third with a sliding triple is Jacob Bernardi. So Bernardi getting 2 RBIs on the play and a triple. We have another guy that's making his first at-bat of the game. That is Alex Morabito. Left-handed hitter. Cal Baptist. First pitch is in there for a strike, and it's 0-1. 6'0", 170 pounds. Will be a junior next season. Business administration major at Cal Baptist. Lots of these players are business majors or business administration majors, as this one's in there for a strike. Of course, Bernardi is standing on third after hitting a 2-run triple to extend the lead to 11-4 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. So a lot of runs scored today by the Pirates. Here's the pitch. Foul ball directly back at the screen. Of course, in the SCCBL, there's not any bat boys or ball boys, so the on-deck batter will usually serve as that. Pick up the ball and bring it back to the dugout. In this case, it's A.J. David. Although A.J. David is actually in the hole, or should be in the hole. Fastball misses high for a ball. Yeah, David goes back into the dugout now. It looked like he was anxious to get up, but Virgin is now the one who's standing up on the on-deck circle, it looks like. Here's the pitch from Bayer. This one fouled down the first base line. Ortega making a good play down there with his bare hand. Well, just the first game of the season. Wrapping up, here's the bottom of the 8th inning, 11-4 the score. Pirates on top of the Bucs. So glad you could join us on InlandValleyBaseball.com. Dave Sobera on the play-by-play as this fastball misses inside. Brushback action on that for number 21, Blackjack Morabito. Seems to be getting pretty warm here. I mean, it's been warm all day, but I'm really starting to feel it now, even though I'm in the shade of this nice canopy behind home plate. A little off-centered towards the first base line. Here's the pitch, breaking ball in the dirt, check swing, and no, he did not go. So it's called a ball. Morabito's hometown is Yucaipa. Went to Yucaipa High School. And swings at this one, line drive to left field, and this catch is made out there by Escobar, but scoring on a sacrifice fly is Bernardi, and it's now 12-4. So you'll take that. If you're Morabito, you get the RBI and the sac fly. Extend the lead to an 8-run deficit for the Buccaneers as it's 12-4 and Virgin steps up to the plate. This will be Anthony Virgin for his first at-bat of the day. His brother Nathan started the game as this pitch is called a strike. And his brother actually started as the number 10 hitter in the lineup, as we mentioned previously. In a non-conference game, you can bat 10 players. You have a DH and an EH, which is an extra hitter, as this is an off-speed pitch way out in front of it is Virgin, and it's 0-2. Virgin, 6'0", 200-pound, right-handed hitter. Played for Orange Coast College as a freshman and will play for Citrus College next season as a sophomore. Checks his swing, and yes, he did go. So 3 pitches and 3 strikes, and he is down for the second out of this inning. 3 runs plated already in the inning to make it 12-4 as A.J. David comes to the plate. First 3 guys to get up in this inning, Seth Gill, Channing Varela, and Jacob Bernardi all scoring. Here's the pitch. Breaking ball bends in at the knees for strike 1, and it's 0-1 to David. Here's the 0-1 offering way outside, and it's 1-1 to David. David 0 for 2 on the day. Did score twice, reached on a walk, and also a hit by pitch. Bayer coming set in the stretch. Here's the 1-1 offering. This one misses outside, and it's 2-1. We talked a lot about A.J. David and just being a stud at San Bernardino Valley College. And, of course, Cal Baptist loved what they saw out of him and offered him the scholarship. Here's the pitch, swung on and fouled behind the screen, and it's now 2-2. In fact, Bayer also goes to Cal Baptist, so we have a Cal Baptist battle right now, pitcher and hitter. But he also, of course, played well in high school for Catella High School in Anaheim, where he was an all-league selection twice and hit .426 his senior year. Good numbers. Here's the 2-2 pitch. This one's inside and it's ball 3, so it's a full count. So even though A.J. David has scored 2 runs, he's 0 for 2, and you know he would love to get a hit right here, especially considering how good he was last season, batting .340 for the Pirates and making the All-Star team. Here's the pitch, swung on and fouled at the screen on the third base side. So we'll do it again. Another payoff pitch to come between Bayer and David. 7th pitch of the at-bat, as Alvarez waits on deck. High fly ball, and that will make its way out of play down the third base line. So we'll have an 8th pitch of this at-bat now to come for David. .12-4 the score. Pirates on top of the Buccaneers. Bottom of the 8th inning. Game 1 of a doubleheader between these two teams. This one swung on, a high fly ball down the right field line, and that's carrying, and that gets over the head of the right fielder, Rabito, heading to second, and now rounding second is A.J. David with a stand-up triple. Wow, that ball just carried. It looked like Rabito had a play on it at first, but it kept carrying all the way out to the fence down that right field line. And as we mentioned, a stand-up triple for David. So David now goes to 1 for 3 on the day, as Alvarez comes up for his second plate appearance. His first one, he flew out to the shortstop in the shallow outfield. This one gets past the catcher. That'll be a wild pitch, and in comes David. And that is the 3rd time that has happened for the Buccaneers. 3rd time a wild pitch has scored a run. That is not exactly what you want, as it's now 13-4. So the Pirates continuing to tack on more runs here at the end of game 1 of the doubleheader. This one is a high chopper up the middle. Shortstop Seminaris fields it cleanly and fires in time to first base for the final out. So 6-3 on that put out if you're scoring at home, and that will do things for the 8th inning. But the damage was done. 4 runs scored in the inning, increasing the lead to 13-4. You're listening to Inland Valley Baseball on the Inland Valley Baseball Network. And welcome back. To the top of 9 we go. First pitch swung on and missed by Juarez from Corey Davis, who came in the 8th inning and worked a very solid 8th inning, 3 up, 3 down. Second pitch swung on and fouled back at the screen, and quickly it's 0-2 to Johnny Juarez, who is up there for the 2nd time today. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. I've noticed a few players on the Buccaneers that don't wear batting gloves. Juarez is one of those players. You don't see that many players with bare hands anymore, as this one swung on and fouled back at the screen, so it remains 0-2. Corey Davis, of course, another returning pitcher and player for the Pirates, one of 16. Here's the pitch. In there, called strike 3. So 4 up, 4 down now, 2 strikeouts for Corey Davis in 1 1/3 innings pitch. last season for the Pirates in 25 and 2/3 innings pitched. He had 23 strikeouts, so pretty much on that pace so far in the first inning and a third of this summer season for Corey Davis. First pitch is in there on the outside, called a strike, and it's 0-1 to Cortez. Cortez, number 21, in there for the second time today, grounded out to third in his first at-bat. This one straight back at the pitcher and actually went straight through his legs. In between his two legs did it, and that'll be a base hit for Cortez. So the first base runner allowed in these couple innings of relief so far for Davis, as it will now turn over to the top of the lineup here, 1, 2, 3 for the Buccaneers. Of course, the Buccaneers have a lot of different players from the original starters, as this one is high and in for ball 1 to Anthony Seminaris. Anthony Seminaris with no official at bat because he walked in his first plate appearance. Here's the pitch. I think that was called a ball. It looked like a strike, but it was called a ball. Late kick, and here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled straight back at the screen, and literally about 2 or 3 feet over my head from where I'm stationed. I am stationed pretty much directly behind a home plate, off center, maybe about 3-4 feet to the right, down that first base line. Very small lead off first base, as this one is high and in, and obviously you probably don't want to take a huge lead when you're down 13-4 and potentially risk getting picked off. Of course, on first base is Cortez, who had the line drive up the middle that actually went in between Corey Davis's legs, but he's off on this pitch, but it won't matter because that is ball 4, and Seminaris will draw the free pass. So 2 runners on board now here for the Buccaneers in the 9th inning. Not sure if they could come back from a 9-run deficit, but maybe they want to try to get a little bit of momentum heading into Game 2 of the doubleheader here. Game 2 will start 30 minutes after Game 1 as Davis checks the runner at second, fires home. This one swung on and fouled out of play down the first base line by Campbell. Brendan Campbell, the catcher, 0 for 1, flew out to left field in his first at bat. Campbell was an honorable mention all-conference selection this past season, as that'll be strike 2 on an off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2. 13-4 the score, top of the 9th inning, 1 out. Pirates 2 outs away from claiming their first victory of the summer season. This one swung out a shattered bat. Davis checks third. I guess nobody was home, so he'll just fire to first and get the sure out. But it looked like he easily could have made the play at third if there was somebody there. As both runners now advance into scoring position, so many times you see a pitcher that when there's somebody not where they're supposed to be, they kind of panic and they might make a throwing error over to first base, but that's not what Davis did right there. He was still cool, calm, and collected. As this pitch is grounded, bounced deep in the hole, shortstop ranging back and makes the throw. Nice play by Padlo to finish this 6-3 if you're scoring at home. And that will end things here for the first game of a doubleheader. The Pirates are now 1-0 and the Bucs are 0-1 after a 13-4 performance. Now remember, believe it or not, the Bucs back in the first inning, it seemed like everything was going great. They scored 3 runs in the top half of the first, and then they retired the side in order, but that was just the first inning. You play 9, and quickly after that, the Pirates came back with 6 unanswered to take that 6-3 lead. Then in the 5th, the Bucs finally answered with 1 of their own, made it 6-4, but the Pirates came right back in that bottom half of the 5th and made it 9-4, and then in that 8th inning, we got the 4 more runs, and it's 13-4. That is the final, and when you look at it, just a really great performance by pretty much everybody hitting-wise on the Pirates, and also a lot of good performances by the Buccaneers as well. But specifically, when you look at some of the, I mean, you just know that A.J. David He was 1 for 3, had 3 runs scored, a triple. And then you look at George Ortega, had an RBI double, also scored and had another single. So a lot of guys that are familiar, doing a great job. One of the new guys, Jacob Bernardi, actually in his only plate appearance, a 2 RBI triple, so that was really impressive out of him. And like I said, pretty much everybody on the Pirates doing a great job here. It was Ryan Romero who started things off for the first 2 innings. Then it was Jack Johnson who came in relief. And then it was Sean Patton who pitched the 5th and 6th inning. So Sean Patton will get the win. Remember, you need to be in the 5th inning after the 5th inning is completed to get the pitching victory. So Sean Patton will get the victory. There will not be a save because it was not a 3-run decision. But that will do things here for the first game of the doubleheader. We will be doing some media things during the first 3 innings, including taking pictures for the website so that you can see all these players' faces on inlandvalleybaseball.com, as well as maybe shooting a little bit of video of the players and stuff like that. So we should be back in the 4th inning-ish of that game. So stay tuned with that. I would say, it's 4 o'clock right now. Check back at about 5 because there's going to be a half hour off in between games. And then, probably around, maybe even 5:30. But after the first couple innings, we'll try to get back here and finish out that second game of the doubleheader. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. This is just the first of many games. We have one more to go here today. I'm Dave Sobera on the play-by-play, and we'll see you later on.